Jones having iced tea and chewing a Nicorette, and Boehner's having a glass of Merlot, red wine, and smoking a cigarette. Grand bargain, big deal. Wind turbine, pinwheel, shag rug, jizz rag, congeal. Door slam, you awake. Petty theft, penny farthing, bicycle, handlebar break. Checkmate, Kasparov, chess, castles, and crooks. Infinitive split past the editor's definitive jokes. This isn't even music, it's like reading that book that I was supposed to read over summer break, and I didn't even look. The dead coal mine canary, flash dance, chair lever pull to the brown blood drop carry, voluntary manslaughter. That's how I beat Aaron Carter, Salvatore Ferragamo, Karen Carpenter, Francis Ford Coppola, Janis Joplin, Samuel Gompers, George Stephanopoulos, Gonzo, St. Bernard, Cask of Amontillado, Prisha Vakadu, Janine Garofalo, Braca Gibraltar eroded, Geronimo, Guantanamo, Daisy Carnival, Paper Blotter, Buttleful, Figwit lives, Higgs boson particle, Oceanographer, Jacques Cousteau, Jacques Clouseau, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Sacre Bleu, Saturday morning cartoon cereal bowl, ulterior motive, strike fear in your soul, swore it was zero from holes, Halcyon days, Hyperion hero, father of Helios, Fortissimo, George St. Giggling, Prometheus featured role, Joker card rattled between the spokes, Joseph Grimaldi and the amazing Technicolor TV quote, reach for the sky through reefer legally smoked, and treat real life like the joke that it is. Fame, I just wanna live, same, not enough disk space, shame, can't be saved, indentured slave, working minimum wage, bars bent on the cage, fistful rage, swaths of indigenous slain, indivisible, with liberty and justice for the ones who can pay, had to add an amendment for the people who had something to say, Funkhauser forever, master, get back once you came. Bang, 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 bang. No more Toyota Camry when my family hit the network. The straightest stolen cameras, ripping panties out the Yeah, I got a solid 240 hours in the game already, and I am loving it so far. The character creation section has so many options. I can't wait to see what the actual gameplay is going to be like. Where the nerds at? And where the nerds at? Now they don't bother with nobody, yeah, I heard that. And where the geeks at? And where the geeks at? This really ain't the type of place that they would be at. Now all these squares trying to play me like a video game. All these girls trying to play me like a video game. All these fakes trying to play me like a video game. Your mistake, man, just let me play my video games, man. Pay for my apartment with my party tricks. Any other context, I'd be a narcissist. You have no idea how hard it is to be against the world and have to act like you're a part of it. These scotch tape glasses got my city on lock, yes. Photo station with the surgeon out in Loch Ness. Godzilla popped up out the science fair project. Start a food fight at this pie eating contest. Bang, role player. Put one in the air for the super Don Dada with the super villain there. Two-player role play. Let me hear you say, nerdcore, hip-hop, don't stop all day. Yeah, role player. Who's that over there with the poodle on the skirt and the curl in her hair? Oh yeah, role play. Get up out my way, you ain't gotta go home, but you know you can't stay. Role play. Okay, so my strategy is to stay in this first area, keep beating these level 1 guys whenever they respawn, and keep getting experience until I'm level 99, and I can walk through the rest of this game like a god. Rocket propel grenade your role-playing game. High score for about as long as y'all have stayed the same. Money counter. Michael Winslow talking all funny sounding. Honey Badger. Drop all your weapons. We've got you surrounded. Lucid dream. Student film. Lens flare every scene. Elephant pink. Electric sheep. Damn things won't let me sleep. Sesame Street. Ocarina play the cantina theme. This that triangle shirtwaist factory fire. Yada da me. Fresh out the who's gal. Fine from the shoes down. Book report proofread. Right out of Boomtown. Casual everyday chillin'. Civil War veteran, but my clothes civilian. Still at Wikipedia like it's no one's business. I look like Alan Sherman. I look like Adam Curtis. I look like Captain Kirkland. I look like random person. Active.
Sorry. Oh, jeez. Maybe. Okay. All right, dude. So yeah, welcome on, man. I've been listening to you for a long time. We are on. We are on. Yeah, man.
It's like,
Sorry. Yeah, dude. I have to say you have a very unique style, and that's what keeps you in my just always looking for your new stuff. It's I don't know. There's something that you're doing that's different than everybody else, and I really appreciate it.
chat says it can only hear you? Question mark.
That should be fixed. That
Okay,
was
like a delay. All right.
that was a me thing. I had that muted by
Okay.
mistake.
Sure.
So we should be all
Good now. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So there is a delay also.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay. So
Yeah,
after
man.
you.
Well, so I'm apparently a bad streamer. By the way, Giraffy Tappy's my wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
First of all, I guess how would you like to be referred to on here?
Gabriel. I mean, it doesn't have to be
Gabriel.
too complicated, I guess. Like I
Yeah.
am just myself. I don't know.
That's fine.
Call me whatever you want. I mean,
Alright.
I have what I tell people to call me, but that's kind of a joke, you know.
That's true. Yeah. Always Mr. Master because I told you to.
Yeah. I mean, I told them, but you don't have to. Whatever.
Man, we got a lot of people tonight. Jeez. Okay. We'll keep up with chat in a little bit. But yeah, man, how long have you really been doing this stuff? That's my question.
10 years.
10 years.
Yes. So I started in middle school. I'm 24 years old.
Okay.
And I started in 8th grade with writing silly verses, you know, middle school stuff, nothing too complicated, but yeah. And I say I've been working on Ultra, kind of working for Ultra as well, working on it for as long as I've been making music. Because when I first started making music, it was nerdy raps over nerdy beats.
Sure.
And Ultra has only been an expansion of that
Mhm.
core idea. So, yeah, it feels like one continuous journey when I say I've been doing it for 10 years. Because it has been, I've just been writing songs and writing raps for that long, but it's also felt like I've been working on the same thing for that long as well.
Yeah, man. And I feel like a lot of your style has kind of changed over time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's become a bit more, I want to say complicated or in depth a little bit. Let's just say
Yeah.
juicy for right now.
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot. Yes, it has gotten very juicy, hasn't it?
Yeah, and you branched out quite a bit too, which is not like it's a nice change to see from some artists that I listen to. You know, I have to ask, like, what artists like influence you in like your writing and things like that?
Well, I mean, if we're talking strictly hip hop, I mean MC Frontalot, obviously.
Sure.
MC Frontalot is the person who got me to rap in the first place. I
Yeah.
found his music when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
Somehow, I wish I could remember, but I found it, and it literally was a beyond technicality and lyricism. Because
yeah.
I got that way later. I mean, obviously, all of it flew over my head when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
But identity-wise and spirit-wise,
Sure.
it's like this guy is a big nerd, and he's out here writing rap songs, and that made young me be like, "Oh, so this isn't weird then." That's the thing. Like, none of this was ever really weird for me.
Yeah.
And as we go on and like step by step through the whole project, it all felt really natural. Like when I was young, when I was 13 years old, a very critical point in time when it comes to development, right? Of human beings, stuff hits at that point and sticks. And for me, I discovered nerdcore hip hop, and nerds rapping wasn't weird. It was air. It was gravity.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't weird for me to pick up the pen and the proverbial mic and say, I want to rap. I want to do this. Like, so like, and then of course later on it was like, I realized how technically deft he is. And I mean, grammatically and everything like that. So he is an inspiration, obviously. Aesop Rock. I have my Mount Olympus, I guess, of MC Frontalot, MC Paul Barman, Bus Driver, Cool Keith,
Oh yeah.
and who did I just say? that I forgot.
Bus driver, Cool Keith, Frontalot.
Forgetting who. How am I forgetting my fifth person? I mean Doom, obviously.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah.
I
like,
think he's huge for a lot of people, man. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just lyrically, because obviously lyrically, but production-wise as well. Like, I hope it can be heard that if you listen to Doom like that and listen to Ultra, it's the same kind of samples, just different drums, I guess, and a different take on it, but it's that same instrumental quality, because we're sampling the same eras, right? It's like he's doing 50s, 60s superhero comic book stuff, and I'm doing 50s, 60s cartoon stuff, like Looney Tunes and stuff. So, like, sonically, it just sounds really the same. Yeah, so, and of course, that's not even to mention stuff outside of hip-hop, because obviously if you listen to Ultra, it's influences all over the place. But just to be narrow, I guess, lyrically, that's definitely, like, lyrically, hip-hop-wise, it's like, who am I forgetting? Oh, Aesop Rock. Yeah, that's who it is. It's Barman, Frontalot, Aesop Rock, Bus Driver, Cool Keith. That's, like, my top 5.
Nice.
For lyrics, it's like, add them all together, it's Ultra.
Dude, I think for lyrics, as far as, like, I definitely appreciate, I appreciate a witty lyric in hip-hop, very much so. And I think you're right at the top of my list, along with Word Burglar and older. This is me being more a fan of the older Childish Gambino stuff.
Right.
I mean, just the when that connection is made with a lyric that you had to think about it for a second, you go,
yes.
Oh yeah, dude, that hits in such a good spot.
And I worry that so few people do that nowadays. Like, I strive for that so hard, and I hope you see that as time has gone on, the lyrics that I try and write, I bake into that a kind of that, but you have to really work for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's even more difficult. Like, so it's even less obvious. And I'm like, I don't see anybody doing that innovatively right now, because, just really being like, because a lot of Ultra stems from respecting the intelligence of my listeners, which is to say that you can figure it out. Anybody who makes a witty lyric like that writes it because they think that the person listening to it, can just get it. You don't have to hold their hand. Yeah. It's just, they can add it up on their own because they're smart. And I like writing stuff that you need to be a little bit smarter, so to speak, to pick up on, right? Sure. Because it's not like the average person, like, that's the replay value, that's the return on investment in Ultra. Yeah. To be like, if you put more time into this, if you stare at this a little bit longer and look at it a little bit deeper, it's that reaction that you're talking about magnified.
Oh yeah.
Over time.
Well, especially if you can, like, connect through multiple songs that maybe maybe span. I mean, because Ultra started when I found it was like, what was it, like 12, 13, 14 songs, something like that? 15. Yeah, and you're at 53 right now?
53, yeah.
See, the question I have is, like, did you ever think that Ultra would go this far?
Yes. As before I put the 15 out, yeah. I mean, because there's a lot to say about what I'm trying to do in terms of innovation here. And content aside, music aside, I had the idea based on watching, to be honest, the Abstract documentary on Netflix. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
It's a documentary series on Netflix that came out, I want to say early 2017 or late 2016, something like that, when the first murmurings of Ultra as an idea came up. I saw this documentary series, and it's about design thinking. So product design, fashion design, stage design, all different kinds of designs, and fields of design. And they boiled to certain principles, and the core of which I got was, you look at the way things are done and you ask, what are people not doing that they should be doing?
Okay.
That's a really specific question, right?
Yeah.
And so now, since that time, and since Ultra has gotten as far as it's gotten, that question has just been the question I live my life by. But when it was initially being asked for me, I applied that very humbly to the small field of music releasing. And I was
Sure.
like, how can I flip this? You have your singles, you put out a song, you promo it, you have your album, obviously, or your EP, right? Those are like the ways to release music, basically, right? You sing your
Yeah.
single, EP, album, I don't know, compilation, something like that. So there's set formats, and I
Yeah.
was like, huh, all of these are like, all of them are like, make something, put it out, have your little press run, your little marketing bit, and then move on to the next thing.
Sure.
Albums, right? You work on it and work on it, and then you release it on one day. There's my music, market it, tour it, the end, on to the next one. And
Yeah.
I'm like, huh, what if, simple idea, what if you released an album and then kept adding songs to it afterwards? And it's
Yeah.
not a different album, it's the same album,
Yeah.
but it's, I was like, I don't think I've seen anybody do that in the way, like, oh, I don't know, a TV show does.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is, Netflix again, where you put out the first season, and it's not like it's a new TV show when it's season two. It's the same show, same characters, same themes, whatever. Stuff changes, but it's an addition to what's already there under the same name. So I'm like, huh, why isn't anybody doing that? And yeah, like all of this, just structurally, release wise, it was by design. And what I loved about it, the more I thought about it, was that the longer it takes for people to find my stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the more satisfying that discovery is. Because if you find out my music now, and we're talking about 50 songs on an album, it's like, what? Right? But
Yeah.
it's different for you because you saw it when it was small, and so it's a different kind of um, reaction, I guess. It's a different type of relationship with the work if you've seen it like that. But the longer it takes, imagine a couple years from now when Alter has like 80 songs on it, and
Yeah.
somebody stumbles on it then, and it's like, oh, so not being discovered and not being quote unquote successful, I guess, in that department actually is a good thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Under this format, it's like the longer it takes, the more I can build here. And in the same way that you catch a Futurama episode on TV and you're like, this is what I've been waiting my entire life for.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look back and you're like, how many seasons of this exists?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
idea of binging something, that was critical too. Like paying attention to formats and being like, oh, that's a different way versus a real-time release of something, right? It's like
Yeah,
an
like a-
episode that comes out.
Like
Sorry?
a one-time thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's a way you can have a relationship with a TV show now. Not
Mhm.
like you found it on TV and you're growing with it and watching it as episodes come out, but to discover it and get into the backlog of it
Yeah.
and binge it all. So it's all ready for you, right? It's not like you saw Freaks and Geeks episode by episode as it came out. It's like you can just watch it all at once, and that's a
Right.
different way of consuming it. So, yeah, like I knew exactly where I was going with this. So so much of Ultra was like, yeah, so much of it has been obviously emergent and has grown as I've grown, but stuff like that where it's like, I'm planning on working on this forever, right? And I'm not saying only this because obviously I'm putting songs out
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
aren't right, Ultra
Yeah.
or whatever, but it's also
Yeah.
like this is gonna be my little rock, I guess, where I can just return here and add on to it whenever I can,
Yeah.
and innovate and have it be continuous. Continuity is really important for that. And I'm like, yeah, so I knew exactly what I was doing. I'm like, it's only gonna keep growing, and there's
Yeah.
no like end. People have asked me about how you're gonna end it. It's like I'm gonna end it when I perish. Like it's gonna be done when I'm done, right?
Sure.
So yeah, like that was the goal from the beginning. From like the first release, I was like, this is gonna be the first 15. It wasn't like here's 15. It's like this is the first 15, and then I'm gonna keep adding more of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, by design, all of it's by design when it comes to the releasing it.
Yeah, and when you think about it, like the idea that you're trying to leave kind of like an ever growing album for somebody to discover, that's very That's very 2020, like, or
Yeah.
modern day, where people they
Yeah.
want to just binge things, so like they want to have
Yeah.
that available,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I'm not the first person to point out that the album format of releasing music is going out the door right now, given the internet.
Yeah.
It's like constant, you gotta keep putting stuff out. It's like, it's different, right? You can't just, I mean, I've been thinking about recently about how expendable music is nowadays. How New Music Friday is just a day of the week, and big artists put an album out, and it's like, wow, you record your reaction video to it, and
Yeah.
then next week there's more music to react to. So it's like it turns into this big rat race where you could either participate and try to run the fastest of the rats, or abstain and work on this big lasting something that people can just tap in and tap out whenever they want, which is ultra, right? To just be
Yeah.
like, okay, this old format doesn't work. If people can't run with it anymore, and there are a lot of people who are still running with it, and it's still kind of working, but if it's not going to be like this forever, because the world isn't going to be like this forever,
Right.
how can it be done different? How can
Yeah.
it be done in a way that adapts to the climate and the culture? And Ultra was, as the release structure, that was kind of my answer.
Yeah. So, eventually, well, I say eventually, around like two, actually, I suppose before, I maybe didn't catch the rest, but you had released some other songs that weren't what I would consider to be nerdcore. What made you decide to kind of go into like a different format for a little bit?
Because I am a musician. So this is multiple points, I guess. So let me talk about nerdcore then, just because I guess this kind of will add a background to this thing of why I'm doing multiple genres in the first place. So I don't. Let's see, there's a lot here. So mainly I'm a nerdcore artist, right? But I'll tell you about my issue with nerdcore, and I wonder what your thoughts on this is, because you're a fan, I'm assuming, like you're aware of like that whole scene, and I don't talk to too many people who are, right? Very, very niche, you know this. So me as a nerdcore artist, I'm like, okay. So again, what in nerdcore? What are people not doing that they should be doing? Is the question I ask myself. Kind of. Half of it is on purpose, intentional, kind of planned out, and half of it is just natural, and it's like a hard thing to explain. I just kind of like happened, but yeah, let me see. So I don't want to act like it was a huge plan for me to do multiple genres. It's like I've just been interested in multiple genres of music, right? As long as I've been making music, I never was like, I just want to be a rapper, right? It's just like I like a bunch of different music styles. Why not try it if I can? And I could, so I was like, fine. But with nerdcore, right? I was like, so nerdcore as a genre has its associations with, how can I put this? People don't like nerdcore. Like a good amount of people don't really like nerdcore.
I can understand that though. I mean, like, what's popular right now as far as hip hop goes, you know?
Right.
I mean, nerdcore is a special kind of thing because I think everybody has, even within this small group of people, has their own niche of things that they talk about and things that they obsess over.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
you talking about people that, I mean, like MC Lars is very literature based with a lot of his stuff, but like, who else does that within the nerdcore community?
Right. Yeah. Not really anybody.
And like Wordburglar does a ton of stuff on. Does a ton of stuff on like G.I. Joe and like just his own experiences in Canada, and like there's other Canadian rappers, but they don't do exactly what he does. And I feel like it's such a small group that you can have different artists doing different things, and it's quite varied. Whereas standard hip hop is very crowded with a ton of people, not necessarily doing the same thing, but talking about a lot of the same subjects. And yeah. A little easier to stand out, I think.
Yes, a little bit. But okay, so if we're having a comparative type of discussion when it comes to nerdcore and mainstream stuff,
yeah,
there's a lot to say about this, and basically I find myself in the middle of all this, right? Which I feel like is why my music kind of comes off as a little bit different because I'm not purely nerdcore. Part of why I feel people don't like nerdcore is because the music isn't very good at a musical level. And the reason why I think that is because when it comes to nerdcore, so many people are nerds first and rappers second. It's like me when I first started making music. I was a nerd, I was shy, I was into school, I had good grades, whatever. I was awkward, all those things. I was a nerd. And then I found hip hop, no, I found nerdcore and was like, oh wow, here's my thing. So now I can take my nerdy identity and communicate it in a hip hop medium. But the hip hop is the how, but the what is inherently the nerdiness. The lifestyle, the identity is nerdiness. And what that leads to is nerds who are very proud and have found their niche and have confidence and they're having a lot of fun, right? But because they're not musicians, the music at a musical level it's not very good. I mean, just to put it bluntly, right? It's just if it were going by hip hop standards, right? It's like MC Frontalot, I feel like is very rare exception. There are definitely more exceptions than there are rules here. And I don't want to name too many names, but definitely Frontalot. It's like if you just look at him if he had never made the word nerdcore up, it's like I've said this multiple times for years now. MC Frontalot deserves to be in every conversation that A$AP Rock is in. And he's not nerdcore. They're not ruled. A$AP Rock isn't called nerdcore or whatever, but if you're looking at vocab and grammar and references, it's like it's a one-to-one. It's pretty much the same thing, right? Yeah. So if we're going strictly by hip-hop standards, take nerdcore out of it. MC Frontalot is just a good rapper, right? It's not just like he's the godfather of nerdcore. Yes, he is, but take identity out of it, nerdiness out of it. It's like that guy can spit like with the best of them, right? And what I've been trying to do is kind of, again, half consciously, but half because the way that I've lived isn't. I just like that kind of music too. I'm not gonna sit here and like bemoan the state of hip hop. I mean, there's a lot to say about how negative it's gotten, especially about the monotony of it all in terms of subject matter and identity and all that. But even then, like the way that you're breaking down the different points that each different nerdcore rapper hits, the same can be done if you look really, really, really hard, I think. Or sometimes if not, it's like if you just know how to look for it, you can do the same thing with all the rappers that are going on nowadays. You could also very easily be like, they're all just the same, but you could also be like nerdcore's all just nerds if you don't know any better.
Yeah.
But
that's a fair
if
point.
you're just like, and so I mean, honestly, for me now, the reason why I don't put nerdcore out all crazy is because it's kind of in the back. Like I proudly claim myself as a nerdcore artist, but in my head, I'm not like, I'm going to try and make the next best new nerdcore song I can. It's just like, I'm just trying to rap. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm trying to stay up. I do not listen to nerdcore. Like, shoot. Like, I probably had my phase in, like, middle school, high school. And then since then, it's just been staying up on what's going on in the mainstream. And not just in a observatory, scientific analysis kind of way. It's like, I was in college, and I was out here seeing what songs do to people in live settings, in party settings, right? So I wasn't just cooped up in my dorm room doing homework or anything. I was really out here and seeing what was going on with hip hop, and I understood viscerally how these songs resonate with people. Because if you're just going off of lyricism, all that, it's like obviously nobody now compares. Like, if you're comparing everybody to MC Frontalot, come on. It's like, there's no competition there. But if you're judging things based on, I don't know, catchiness and the tone of their voice and beat selection, and it's a whole different way to measure what a good song is, right? It's like, underground hip hop, you have your lyricism and your wit and your cleverness, but when it comes to mainstream stuff, it's like there's a reason why this is hitting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If people cared about everything being stupid and samey, nobody like hip hop wouldn't be where it's at right now. But
Yeah.
it is where it is right now, and I don't want to sit here and be like, it shouldn't be like that. I mean, there's an argument to be made for that, and I'm here for that. I can make that argument, but there's a reason why Megan Thee Stallion and DaBaby and NLE Choppa and people right now like are on, and it's worth understanding why they're doing it instead of doubling down on nerdcore, which I feel like is what has happened in nerdcore, right? I mean, it goes to show how few people are even still around doing nerdcore nowadays. I mean, it had its little time in the sun, didn't it, in nerdcore, like 08, 09 ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since then, it's like, has anybody even really stuck with it? And like, yes, but in a super niche, super underground way.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of that is what MC Lars pointed to in his proclamation of the death of nerdcore. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Only lightly.
Okay, yeah, like he put a blog post out and it was like RIP nerdcore. It's over. And I think, from what I can recall, it was something along the lines of like that was what he was saying. That if everybody hops on the nerdcore train because they're nerds and they want to have fun and be nerdy together, great. But it comes at the cost of, I think it's just what he said. It's like everybody's nerds, but nobody knows how to rap. And now nerdcore is associated. If you bring nerdcore up to anybody who even is still aware of it, they're going to remember probably not very good rapping. They're going to remember the nerd more than the rapping, right? Because if you're like a Star Wars fan and you just hear somebody rapping about Star Wars, it's like, oh my God, Star Wars. But if you're a rap fan and you're listening to somebody rap about Star Wars who only knows Star Wars and not rap, that is embarrassing. And I want to not be embarrassing. So I found myself in between these two worlds, and I hope that's how the music sounds, that my bread and butter, my foundation is nerdcore hip hop. It's wit, it's references, it's bars, it's wordplay, it's all that. But at the same time, to be aware of what's going on right now and not to be the kind of backpacker, underground, lyrical miracle hip hop fan who just is so deep in their backpack they don't even see what's going on anymore. Because there's a lot to appreciate. Like, I don't like hating either way, right? Especially when it comes to music, right? And it's like, why hate on modern hip hop when there's so much to love about it? It's like, if you see what goes on in a party when I remember when Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight came out, the Travis Scott album, and just seeing what that record did to people in party type settings. It's like, and Travis Scott is his own thing to analyze, but it goes beyond everybody likes him because he's smart and he's the best rapper. Yeah. It's a different. I've had songs where I didn't get it at first and was like, this song is garbage. And then I heard it live in a concert type setting and I was like, I get it now. Now I like this song. And right, so all this to say that I associate myself more so with music in general rather than define, because like genre-wise, as an artist, the last thing I feel like you want to do is box yourself into a genre like that, very, very strictly. Because this is my thing. So genres, right? A genre is a label that listeners of music can use to find more music that they might like. It's for listeners of music. It's not for artists, right? It's for people who listen to music to find more music.
Yeah.
And so as an artist, I'm not thinking about genre like that. I'm just like, I make music. And rapping is singing, is poetry, is speaking. And there's no like, to me, it's not crazy that I'm doing nerdcore and the sing-songy Broadway cover. Like you've seen on Ultra, it's like, it goes from rapping super crazy aggressive to musical theater covers. And to me, that's not crazy because how could that be crazy if I've just been focusing on music my whole time, right? Only music. It's like, so it's natural for me to just go to like on Inside Out, Upside Down, where I have the rap songs, and even within the rap, it's like subdued, more romantic stuff to super aggressive stuff, and then to go into the synth pop song, and then the punk song, and then all these different places. It's like I'm just curious, I guess, just unendingly, inherently curious, and that means if I can use my voice, because command of your own voice means command in a delivery sense. But once you get like in a rap sense, right? It's like once you get a hold, like once I got a hold of how to control my voice on a rap record,
Yeah.
then it's just about controlling your voice. And another way you can control your voice is singing. And so I'm not gonna limit myself. Like if I, again, I'm not gonna double down and just do the rap thing. I'm like, if I can take these skills and bring them somewhere else, then why not? Why can't I? Like literally is the thing. I'm like, I'll hear like I'll get super into 80s music and then I'll be like, huh, I wonder if I can make this, just like production wise, songwriting wise, like if I can just sing a song like that. And I'm just like, let me see. And then Ain't No One Gonna Take Me Mine happened. And I'm just like, why not? Like, I'm not just a rapper. It's like, if I know how to produce, if I know how to write song structure beyond rapping, then why not try and apply it? Because that's universal when it comes to music. So I'm like, this, like I'm saying, it is partly because like when Colors, I think you must have seen when Colors was going on then, the play, yeah. So like that was kind of half. I was trying to push myself and do as many different genres as possible, but even outside of that kind of planned way of doing it, I'm just like I would have been making these songs anyway, just because I like. I get kind of iffy on what I like to call myself. Like as a musician or an artist or something, it's like, yeah, I rap, but if I say I'm a rapper, people will not like saying I'm a rapper doesn't account for all the Broadway stuff. Saying I'm a singer is very generous. Saying I'm an artist is very pretentious. Saying I'm a musician, I feel implies that I play an instrument, and I don't really. But so it's kind of all over the place, but still, it's like. But at the same time, I'm not each individual one. I'm kind of all of them a little bit. Which is to say that I'm a jack of all trades and not a master of any one, ironically. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question. It's like, it's not like if anything, nerdcore allowed me to do all these different genres. It wasn't like a thing that I had to overcome. Like, oh my god, I'm only doing nerdcore. Let me just push myself to see if I can get out of this box and do this new stuff. It's like nerdcore because it fostered this attention to detail when it came to songwriting beyond the nerdiness, right? Because I'm just talking about music here.
Yeah.
Nerdcore was my door in to hip hop and songwriting, and that opened up into music in general, and that opened up into all these different pathways that I could walk down, and I tried to walk down all of them, or as many as I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Music is music. I make music. I make as much music as I can.
Yeah. So I know for most of, at least when I found you, you were going to school at the time. Are you still going to school, or are you done at the moment?
I am not done, and there is a long story to why. But part of it is that I've been a little too curious, but I don't know if I should go too deep into that. But yeah, I'm still going. I'm studying business right now. I'm about to start at university next week, actually. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I am still learning, and I will always be learning. Inside or outside of education, higher education, whatever.
For sure. What do you eventually want to do?
I don't know. And so basically my plan and what I've been saying to people when they ask me this is I don't know, but what I'm going to do is set myself up for as many possibilities for what I could do right now. I feel like I am privileged enough at the moment to not have to really be like, I need to pick something now.
Sure.
So I think I still have some time, and with that time, I mean, I've told people before about, so my background is in the arts. I make music. I've been in theatrical productions. That's what my thing is. That's my bag. And a couple years ago, I came to the decision where I was like, okay, I could either pursue art, it being my bag and all,
Hmm.
and ace every class because if you want me to go to an acting class, I'm going to ace that in my sleep because I know how to act. I taught myself just on my own through the
Hmm.
internet and through one performing my rap songs, which are very theatrical. And there's a lot to say about theatricality and ultra, but so I could go into art because it's what I know, or I could do something completely the opposite, precisely because it is what I do not know. And business just made sense because I'm like, also job security. I mean,
Yeah.
like, if
Yeah.
I get a job in theater, like, goodbye money, right? It's like doing it for the love, for the passion, sure, but it's like, okay, no, wait, I'm smarter than that. I don't
Yeah.
need to do that, especially if I'm doing Broadway in my bedroom anyway, right? So I'm like,
Yeah.
it, then if I always have art, then I can stray as far as I want, and I always have ultra still. So let me just 180 completely and do business.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that what is going on in business that nobody's doing, but maybe they should be doing, letting artists in, maybe,
Yeah.
who are not, or just being diverse, right? Diversity of thought and philosophy. Because I am obviously not profit centric, right? I'm not about making money, right? That's not the point for me. And if I'm going to be studying management at my university,
Hmm.
perhaps I can bring that philosophy in it, right? Because it's like you have people who study business, and it's like they they tried startups and all these different venture capital, blah 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 type situations, and so you get that business minded person who works and has had that entrepreneurial state of mind all their
Hmm.
lives, and that's who you get in the business classes. The same way you get theater people in the theater classes, right? You just have the people who that's their bag, right?
Yeah.
So I went precisely in the direction of not my bag, so that in a room full of entrepreneurial wannabe CEO types, I'm over here rapping cartoonishly and but still not taking it very, very, very seriously because obviously I take ultra very seriously.
Yeah.
Professionally, professional grade seriousness goes behind the jokes and the everything I'm talking about. I mean, I hope you could see.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just this is how like the way that I'm talking right now. All of this informs ultra the same way it could inform running a business, maybe. So again, taking something that I know, the skills that I've learned from that, and applying that elsewhere, and finding the fit for that, right? Because it's like if I know how to mess around with words in a way that is innovative, if I
Hmm.
know how to write a clever punchline, if I know how to write a really good rap line that makes you go, oh, whatever, you get that reaction out of somebody, then maybe I can work words around in a different way. Because again, it's not just I'm a good nerdcore rapper. It's like I have a way with words, and
Yeah.
that's rapping, that's songwriting, that's poetry, that's public speaking, that's negotiations and business practice. That's like emotional understanding too. It's like it's everything. So I'm like not going into art doesn't mean I leave the art behind, right? Like I'm compromising my morals by going into business. Quite the contrary. It's an expansion of my morals and being like, wait a second, I can have my cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
I can be an artist and be a business person, and it's not, there's no canceling out anywhere there. So, and I mean, recently in the pandemic, it's like I've already been taking that further, and like I'm trying to teach myself, I'm trying to introduce myself to the hard sciences as well, and trying to get more involved mentally when it comes to like philosophy, philosophical things like that. And it's like,
Hmm.
you know what? Right now, I'm just trying to spread my, I'm just trying to widen my range, right? I
Yeah.
mean, musically, it was rapping, and then I'm just widening my range so that I can make any type of music I want. Right now, as a person, skill wise, I'm trying to expand my range so that I could be whatever job that I wanted.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope that when this whole thing gets over with, I'm kind of just banking on the idea that somebody will come across what I'm doing here, who I'm being here, and be like, I have something for you, instead of me trying to carve myself to fit in this opening that is a job,
Sure.
where instead it's just like I'm putty or whatever. It's like shove me in anywhere. I will actually like it's a business, it's art, whatever. It's like any type of place. I'm like, I think I'll be good. So so I don't know. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I filled out a scholarship application a couple days ago, and this is what I said as my little like bit, my little like closing bit to end it with. I was like, you know what? 15-year-old me would have never imagined 24-year-old me going into business, studying business management.
Yeah.
But here I am. And as such, if I want to keep that pattern up, I can't know what I want to be yet. You see what I'm saying? Like, the only way to subvert that kind of expectation that teenager me had was to have a solid expectation and shatter it. And so my strategy, I guess, is just to not be too rigid on I want to be this. It's like so that when I'm 35, I'm somewhere that me right now would have never imagined, because that's how I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Like, if that makes sense, right? It's like, obviously, at 15, let's say I wanted to be a famous rap superstar, whatever, and now I'm not that. Okay, fine. So if 10 years from now, I'm not whatever I think I'm going to be now anyway,
Yeah.
let me try and be as many things as possible. Let me try and make it so future me has as many iterations as possible to expand the possibility of future me. Because if I'm like 35, I'm going to be owning a business or something. That's a very narrow definition of success. Versus when I'm 35, I'm still going to be doing Ultra no matter what, no matter where I am. I'll be applying that philosophy. I'll be making the music, obviously, but applying the philosophy that Ultra taught me. And there's a whole lecture series to be had about what Ultra has taught me, like just mindset-wise. But as long as I'm still doing that, it doesn't matter where I end up. What am I going to do? I don't know. But I know that I'm going to be doing Ultra wherever it is. And it's going to get me somewhere. It's going to... The kind of questions I'm asking, the kind of mindset that I'm having, I hope goes anywhere. Like the same way of thinking that led me to the release structure of Ultra, I hope can lead to some sort of, if you give me a structure, anything, I mean a business model or whatever it is, like maybe I can find some holes and flip it in a way that I flipped Ultra. No matter where it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking like, yeah, so like very long answer to summarize into I don't know.
Yeah.
And if Ultra has taught me anything, I don't want to know what I'm going to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Let's leave that at that.
Yeah. To your point, when you said by the time you're 35, you'll hopefully find kind of what you're looking for. Triad was saying 35 will come pretty quick. And that's true.
Okay, yeah.
That's a fair point. But also, it does bring up the idea that like if you are branching out like this and you keep doing that, maybe you eventually do find exactly what you're looking for. I mean, maybe it was just hidden the whole time. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that was Ultra. Like, I was kind of expanding myself all over the place, and I could have just expanded so far and found out that making pop music was really my thing, and I just let go of rap and double down on pop music, and that was my thing. But no, like everything just looped back around of being like, wait a second, I can still do this same thing and do all these other things anyway, and just loop back around to this. So that's the thing. I think I found my little something. Maybe not professionally, career-wise, but definitely in terms of sense of self and what I stand for. And if that's the case, then I think like just having security in that, I feel like makes me a little less worried in terms of the whole professional something or other type thing, because it's not really too much crazy pressure to find a job, because it's not like a if I don't find a job, I don't know who I am as a person type situation, because people define themselves by their jobs. It's like, which is fine, which is great, but to bank on something like that as being the answer is like, it's not a good setup you're setting yourself up for failure. So I'm like, I think if I got that already, like I found my thing that will loop back around so that I'm doing something all along. And I hope it does end up something like that, right? It's like where, I mean, obviously, ideally, it would be like I'm still not ruling out the idea of turning Ultra into this actual my own little enterprise thing because it has the potential for that. But even if it doesn't, to be an employee for some sort of other something, it's like, yeah, cool. And no matter what, if that's the case, even if I'm like super far in the back, even then, Ultra has taught me that that is a more favorable position than somewhere all the way in front. Obviously, look at me. I'm not trying to market super crazy. It's like I like being in the back and not doing something crazy, right? So it's like, look, I like put me in front of everybody. I'll do fine. Keep me in the back. I'll work quiet and get the job done. It's like no matter what it is, I'm just like, it'll circle back to Ultra and be like, I learned how to even think like this because of the music, I guess. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Triad was also saying, knowing yourself is one of the harder things to know all of, but the more you do, the happier you'll be. That's super true, man.
And that's a really like, okay, so part of why I wanted to talk to you is because I've been having conversations with listeners of mine as long as the quarantine has been happening. And so things like this where we're just talking for hours about anything, right? Not just about me, but like just anything, right? And it's come to a certain point where it's about knowing yourself and stuff like that. Super deep, like one of the deepest philosophical questions, and a question that people unfortunately die before they answer, which is tragic. But one thing that Ultra has allowed me to accomplish is to answer that question securely. Not definitively, of course not, but to be like, that's not a question that keeps me up at night. Who am I? What do I stand for? What does this even mean? It's like, I found the thing that I'm going to be working on forever. By the way, like, this is like, and I'm sure you can gather now, it's like, when I say the word Ultra, I'm kind of using it interchangeably between the music itself and what making the music project, did for me mentally and emotionally and philosophically.
Yeah.
Which, right, because making Ultra is not like it's not just songwriting, right? It's not just me making music. It's like, it's a very specific process that I could go into as well, but it's been academic and rigorous and asking difficult questions and beating my head against the wall and having something emerge from my subconscious that actually just hits and goes down so smooth. For years after years after years, it goes down smoother and smoother. And I'm like, oh, this is this. Because Ultra is something that emerged from my own subconscious, I guess you could say. Like, more than anything. This is what I'm saying, the back and forth between it being conscious and a plan, and half because it's just kind of happening. Even with the release structure, it's like, I have never really put out an album like that. All I've ever done since I started in middle school was put singles out. Eventually, like maybe a couple songs, like 5 songs or whatever. But it's never been like I'm going to stop everything and work on an album and do that whole little format thing. I was doing that anyway. I was just kind of putting songs out, not under any release anything, right? In the same way that, I don't know, a YouTube channel, it's like, it's not like a series or anything. You're just kind of like putting videos out, and they're all under the same umbrella of your YouTube channel, but they're kind of their own thing. So I'm just like, let me just keep doing that. Let me find a way to just tweak it so that I can keep doing what I was always doing, but reframing it in a way that is actually innovative and makes it look like that I was trying to do it trying to do it intentionally the whole time. When in reality, it was just kind of, I was doing this anyway. So, and that could go super, super deep because like, what that has taught me is that, again, you can take that model and zoom it all the way out and be like, okay, if you do something all the time, I mean a habit, if you think a certain way, if you do a certain, like a gesture or even a certain way, you use a word a lot, it's like you don't know why you do it, but it just kind of happens. And I feel like grasping at identity is like noticing stuff like that, having the awareness to notice stuff like that and be like, oh, wait, I think like this a lot. I say this a lot. I do this a lot. And being like, okay, instead of just doing that unknowingly, unconsciously. I'm gonna do that consciously now. I'm gonna be aware of it, and I'm gonna make it so when I say this word, it's my word now. And that's like a super like little like super little doorway into that identity thing, but I think it's something to be like even something like, oh, I don't know a color, to be like my favorite color is this, and I'm gonna make it so not just that it's my favorite color, but I wear it all the time, and it's the color for my music, and this is my color. It's me. It
Sure.
is me, loudly and proudly. And that takes risk and confidence, maybe even faking it till you make it. But I've made it. I've been faking it long enough for me to have made it by now. And that means stuff resonated with me anyway. I mean, Ultra isn't everything, right? It's not just the world. It's not just everything in the universe. It's not a theory of everything. Cartoons, American pop culture is very American, like the project, and Broadway. It's very specific interests, right? And for some reason, these things really resonate with me. Versus, I don't know, like the hard sciences or even business, or business has its overlap, but like there's stuff that I definitely don't mention at all in Ultra, kind of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm not a polymath or whatever. I'm not just this Renaissance person who's just out here loving everything. It's like I have my specific things, and that makes me who I am. Just being like, if I see the color orange, it's me. Like it's gotten to the point now where I have my friends like, if they see somebody like something orange, something like, because I have a backpack that's orange and I have clothes and like all these other things. Um, so it's just affirmation. It's just reaffirming that whenever I see the color orange, I'm like, Ultra, me. There it is. There I am.
Yeah.
Versus looking at the world and being like, with uncertainty and doubt and being like, where am I in all of this? It's like, whenever I see the word Ultra, the word Bang, the word Master, the color orange, like, there. It affirms my existence, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is why I'm doing this, because, and maybe that's a trick. That's probably a trick. Like, but that's like kind of confirmation bias, but it's confirmation bias wielded in your favor, so that instead of having your confirmation bias lock you helplessly into this whatever ideology that makes it so life kind of just happens to you, if you're like, okay, you know what, whenever anybody says the word, I don't know, like Ultra, it's like, it's me, there I am. It's like, it's in service of a goal that I think is noble and healthy, which is, I matter, I know who I am, that's who I am. And again, you sometimes have to trick yourself into doing that, but like, so yeah, I guess, like, that's what Ultra did. I'm like, because there's so much that, I say it emerged from my subconsciousness. It's like, this is the thing too. I like, I've had conversations where somebody has asked me, like I say, I've been talking about stuff like this, and the advice that I give is to create something. Like, write a song, make an art piece, do something. Write, literally write. I mean, this is the value of keeping a journal, right?
Yeah.
Multiple benefits, but one of them being, you wrote it. You picked up your pen and put words in a certain order. You did that. Nobody else did that for you. It's like, I didn't just hold your hand literally and write the thing for you. I didn't do the thinking for you, and you just kind of received it and have internalized it, and there you go.
Sure.
It's like, obviously, if you just take stuff from all these other places, of course you're going to have an issue of like, where am I on all this? It's like, nowhere. All you did was listen to everybody else and take that. So it's like, what's the quickest shortcut to do something only you can do? Art, creativity, write. Literally just writing the words so that, because in your mind, all these thoughts are kind of racing and floating around all over the place. But when you're writing, you have to pick and say, you can't write everything you're doing all the time. You have to write one word at a time. You have to decide at every word what word you want to say next, what point you want to make here, because you can't make 10 at once. You pick and you say, me, am going to take this and decide that I'm going to do this, instead of having my thoughts run all over the place. That's the thing. And to expand that into writing a song, like whether it's an acoustic song or something like that, it's like, unless you're doing like a cover or something, I don't know, but like,
Could I
you
actually
made it. Yeah,
could I pause you just for 1 second?
Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead. Feel
we
free
were-
to interrupt me whenever. I'm just kind of rambling.
I'm sorry. We were rated by Alchemy, which is a friend of the channel with 19 people, and I just want to say thank you so much for coming by. Today, well, some people know me. I'm Snuggles or Alex. We have with us today Mr. Master, who is a new nerdcore rapper from the kind of the West Coast.
Yep.
Been doing this thing for, you said 15 years, right? Or
10.
or 10.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I've been doing
15.
it for 40 years.
Let's say 15. But yeah, we're talking music, life, everything that you can think of. But I just wanted to just pop in really quick and say thank you for the raid, and you can find more Mr. Master stuff at his SoundCloud and on Spotify.
Mr. Master Sucks. MRMASTERSECKS. Thanks. But yeah, back to the deepest philosophical inquiry you could ever ask yourself. Yeah, like, I don't know. Just Ultra is mine. It's like, it's obviously not mine. I mean, you heard the syllabus. It's like, it's not I just picked it out of thin air. It's not really brand new nerdcore. It is nerdcore that has its precedents all over the place that I can point to and whatever. But in that noise and that mess, it's like, you know what? I made this mess, right? Versus having a mess made for you of your life. It's like, you know what? If my life is going to be a mess anyway, let me throw stuff around and be like, right? Like, that's the best I can come up with when it comes to self, like grasping of oneself. It's like, do something with intention. Don't do something because anybody told you to. Like, literally just do it because it's like, because you have thoughts that pass in your mind today where it's like, I wonder if I just did this, and then you don't do it. And then it's just like, okay, let's just exercise that muscle of something's going to pop into my head, and I'm just going to do it because it popped out of my head. And perhaps my unconscious will maybe try to tell me something very, very surreptitiously. And then I can study it and be like, okay, so the next time that I have that thought, I can actually consciously have that thought, and it's mine. Like, that's what I do when I write. I sit and I stare at the ceiling until something pops out of my head, and I'm like, that's good. And I didn't get it from anywhere. I'm not over here looking up this or that, right? I'm literally just staring at the ceiling being like, what comes to mind here? Now, with Ultra, there is, like, research things that I could get into, but for the most part, it is just letting my mind go and achieving this kind of flow state. And there's a lot to say about the value of flow states, but letting your mind go and having stuff just kind of happen from your mind, like letting just stuff just kind of bubble up. That's you, right? Obviously, if you're just going to if you're going to run and be on the move your whole life and talking to this person, trying to do this and that, it's like, you don't have time to just let your mind sit and see what happens. Like, this is meditation, by the way. Like, letting your mind go, just sitting and seeing what happens. And so people get frustrated. They're like, I can't do this. I can't sit still. I don't like what comes up. But that's...
Sorry, to be clear for the audience, Ultra is the album that I originally found from you, and that's what Gabriel's referencing.
Yeah.
No, or the project itself and how it's shaped his mind almost. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in. I'm talking about rap music here, is what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I could say a lot about identity and getting that, because that's what I got. Like, I feel like if I can provide anybody with any sort of spiritual enlightenment, anything, it's that. It's like, it feels weird, but I'm just getting more and more comfortable with saying, yeah, I know who I am. Like, if you ask me who am I, it's like, I don't need to think that hard at all about that. And I feel like I'm rare in that. I don't want to make it seem like I've figured it out, actually. It's like, I'm still suspicious this whole time. It's like, as I'm talking, I'm kind of just like, yeah, like, I'm talking like this, but at the same time, it's no, like, I got the answer, right? Again, I didn't just solve it, and I'm just moving on to the next thing. It's like, it's a maintenance of being like, okay, am I still this person? Which is a constant checking of yourself. It's like, who am I implies a destination, right? When in reality, you're always changing, but under the same heading. like, oh, I don't know, a YouTube channel, or I don't know, the word Ultra, the musical project Ultra. It's like it has its iterations. It has First and Squared as my 2017-2018 year. But then the past year and a half or so, it has been completely different, and I've grown a lot, and you can hear it in the individual songs and the music in that project. But at the same time, it's still me, right? It's still me. There's a continuity in all that, right? It's like, this is why I didn't really like the whole album release structure. I feel like, for me personally, I mean, you see people go through albums where it's like they had this album and it was this era and they dressed like this and made music like this, and then the next album they changed and did this and this and this, and you can still see it under the umbrella of the Beatles or something, right? It's like they're obviously still the same band, they just went through their little phases. But I kind of wanted to make that a little bit more obvious, that not only am I the same artist, this is the same album, kind of, to make it clear that, like, I didn't figure myself out in Ultra. What I did was notice that I had it figured out all along. Does that make sense? Like, that, like I'm saying, I started when I was 14, and I was like, nerdy raps. And since then, it's just been justification on top of justification for why I should keep doing nerdy raps. Beyond the music itself, it's like nerdy raps taught me to write and think for myself, right? So it's like, okay, I was on the right path this whole time. Nothing ever, like, and this is a narrative writing thing of like how I've chosen to write the narrative of my life, which it's getting all over the place. Like, I hope like I'm not going off too crazy, but like I hope something could be gained out of that, like, because I have a lot to say about gaining selfhood and fostering autonomy in oneself and agency. So yeah, let's leave that. I don't know if you had any more questions, but like that's like, I can't talk about Ultra without it getting that deep. You know, if we want to talk the music itself, I can stick to it, but it's hard because, like I'm saying, like, I'll just jump around from, like, because I can't talk about the way that I write Ultra without talking about the way that I think about everything and that. So, whatever. Thoughts?
Triad was saying albums were like books or movies, but now people like short comics and episodic TV shows. So making music in the same way sort of releases that evolve makes sense.
Yes, exactly. Fit it with the times. Like, obviously, if everybody used to have to gather around the TV, right? Like, what is it, event television, something like that, like a Super Bowl. You have to gather all around, and the world stops, and everybody gathers around the TV. It's like, okay, but everybody has a TV in their pocket anymore, and you can't do that. Fine. It's like, are you either gonna compete and keep trying to make those events happen, or just leave something for people? Just leave it out there and be like, people will find it, and they can tap in and tap out whenever they want. You know, like, that's the whole binge model of, right? So it's like, what I'm saying is that whole, it's deeper than media. That can go, like, you can zoom that outwards and be like, okay, this shift in culture could also maybe I could find myself in here and be like, wait, maybe media and culture aren't the only things that are shifting here, let's say. So.
So one question I had, are there any songs you've been working on for, like, maybe those 10 years that you have not, just hasn't clicked yet?
You know what? I don't think so. That's funny. Because I'm thinking on it now, I'm like, I think every time I had a song, I put it up. Every time I had an idea, it's part of it. Which, I think that's nice. Okay, so, like, there have been times where maybe I shouldn't say which songs, but there are certain songs where I was like, the process of them were actually kind of more tumultuous than usual. Like, it was a little less fun, I guess.
Sure.
But I've never really, like, scrapped a song like that. And I don't think I would have wanted to, right? Because it's like, I don't want, like, I used to want, after the first 32 or so, I was like, I only want to make music that is the best that I can ever make it, because Ultra is a big deal to me. I take it very seriously. So I want it to constantly be improving, and I want every song to be better than the last, literally. But as time has gone on, especially with Cubed, right, it was just like a different approach. Where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go, and, like, again, it was kind of just the way that my life was at the time. I just couldn't. I was in a new place. I was in a new state of mind, and I was still feeling so much out. I wasn't really sure what I was doing, so I was just like, you know what? Instead of doing some sort of massive something that I did with the first 30, which was a year and a half of just soul devotion to figuring Ultra out, just only this and only this. Instead of that, because my life is different now, I need to change and I need to adapt and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna put songs out. I'm just gonna try. I'm not gonna go too hard on myself. So no, yeah, like I don't want to. Yeah, I had a period where I wrestled with the idea of how good do like does this meet the standard of quality for Ultra? And I kind of threw that out because I was like, you know what? Obviously, like again, I'm figuring it out as I go along because I thought it was going to be some big, fantastic something, but then I'm just like, you know what? Here's the vulnerability. I guess it's not obvious, but like for my own sake, teaching myself a lesson of being like, you know what? This isn't perfect, but life isn't perfect. There's going to be some stuff where it's like, this is rough, and I'm not. I wish I could point out the songs. I don't want to ruin them. But like, there are certain songs.
You can point out some of them. That's fine.
I mean, okay, like, so Please Hold and Interrobang from last year. Like, both of those ideas. I think I say this on the Genius pages, actually, which there's a lot to say about the Genius pages.
I know.
But,
there's a lot on those Genius pages, dude.
Yeah, so, yeah. Only scratching the surface here, but
so sorry for people wondering what that is. Genius is a website where you can go. I believe, can you only do it as an artist, or can you do it as a fan as well?
Oh, anybody can. Yeah, anybody can add a page. Anybody can annotate. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got pages up there with I think all, if not most, of his music, and it's annotated, and there's comments on many bars.
It is as much a part of Ultra as the music itself. It's why in the description I have Shuffle Ultra Study Genius, because it's literally like a novel. I wasn't even trying. It was just like, I'm just going to annotate all these things and make sure I really illustrate what all this really means. And it turned into like, if you count I don't even want to count the words on like the annotations, but it's like everything I'm saying here times 3.
Yeah.
So,
but those have helped me sometimes when I couldn't catch certain things as well.
Can I ask for an example of that?
Offhand, no.
Okay, fine.
It's very few. It's more often when I don't connect with a reference right away. But that is quickly remedied. Like for the longest time, Funkhauser was a thing that appears a lot, and I was like, what the hell is this in reference to? And I finally read it on the end of Super, and it's so sad. Like it's sad, but it's great. Yes,
like there's the heart. Like again, I don't want it to be like it's deeper than that. Like I'm right here. I'm here writing nerdy raps, but at the same time, I'm juxtaposing all these different stuff. I'm like the family friendliness with the super dark, obscene stuff, and really silly, frivolous humor with heart like that. It's like that's really the heartbeat of what I'm doing. Like, this is what I mean when I say it's serious, right? So like, I forget that honestly. Like again, like I'm over here just writing and stuff that resonates with me, but there is some stuff that's like you literally like it could be so many different things. If you don't get something, it's like, oh, it could be some sort of wordplay thing or some reference that I'm not getting, or it's just something literally from my personal life that nobody even knows about. But yeah, like there's a lot that I want to ask you just about how you interpret Ultra, obviously. Like I don't want to sit here and be talking this whole time because your interpretation is just as valid as mine, honestly. And yeah, there's a lot to say about that. I mean, yeah, just like I was saying, like, but just to wrap up this little point, like Interrobang and Please Hold were kind of iffy. And I was like, I got frustrated trying to record it because I was like, I literally was just like, this isn't meeting the standards. I want this to be good. I want this to be really, really, really good. I want it to be an improvement. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I like this beat. I like these beats. I like the concepts for these songs. If it doesn't meet my thing, whatever. Like, I think it's a welcome addition to Ultra anyway.
Yeah.
Even if I do look back on it and I'm just like, like, Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's funny. I haven't been posed that before, but I'm like, I don't think I would want to just be like scrapping anything. It's
Sure.
like
It's kind of
every
it's kind of showing your history.
yes,
If there is something that maybe you do look back on it and don't look back on it with the fondest of visions or memories, but I don't know. It's part of the journey, really.
yes,
At this point.
of course, and it's a journey. That's what Ultra is supposed to be. And it took me a second to get to that, but I'm just like, because even then, even now, I was just like, the plan that I had for the second half of Cubed, right, the next 15 songs, was to go back underground and return to form and just go all the way in on Ultra and work, like shut up for a good amount of time, just not even put out music,
Hmm.
and then have a 15 release drop
Yeah.
on a day, like I did with the first one in Inspired. But then I was like, you know what? Like, given the state of the world right now, I don't think I can do that. And
Yeah.
I should fit myself to that. Be like, you know what? It's the future has gotten so shortened that I can still really only work song by song still. I mean, it's funny, just as much as I could, like, just as soon as I figured out as soon as I got my bearings when it came to where I was in my life, where I was in the world kind of rocked all over the place, and I'm just like, okay, fine. Then I can't really, because the plan was before summer and everything really started to go like that. I was like, yeah, just go underground, new release. But I'm just like, okay, fine. Life is unpredictable. Let me just work on songs. Let me just keep doing this. Of like,
Yeah.
it's a journey. Is some stuff is rough, some stuff I'm proud of, but I'm just gonna keep trudging through. And that being said, though, it's funny. Yeah, what comes to mind now is that I am sitting on some beats that I haven't like finished yet, but there isn't anything
Yeah.
where I made it and I was like, no, not ever. And even
Uh,
then, it's like the making of the beats is its own kind of thing where it's
yeah.
like putting it out, putting a song out, done with vocals and everything, is its own kind of completion. But making a beat is also its kind of it has its role as well. It doesn't have to just be put out. There
Yeah.
is like stuff that I'm sitting on where I don't know if I'm ever going to put it out, but it's not like garbage. It's not like I threw it away because it was bad or anything. It was like
Right.
it's as much a part of the journey as what you see,
Yeah,
right?
you just haven't found a fit for it yet. Really.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because I think you've seen maybe on Genius, like there are beats where I've sat on them for years before I found the right time to actually use them. So, um, and again, it speaks to building on what happened before and not ever really letting go of anything.
Hmm.
Like, I can still use this, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. But uh, did you have any other questions? Because I really want to hear like what your interpretation of everything is.
Interpretation is tough. Um,
Right.
because I mean, I take it song by song, really myself.
Okay.
The very first thing I heard of yours originally was Cartoon Violence,
Okay.
and that was linked on Reddit at one point, and
Mhm.
I remember it had had fairly mixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I
was
think I
res-
remember that post.
Yeah, and I kept listening to it because I was like, there's something about this that's just it's catching my eye, and I couldn't figure out what it
Mhm.
was, and I think it's just the way that you're putting lyrics together, man. It gives me some sort of satisfaction that um, I look for that in musicians. It doesn't matter if they're rappers or
Right.
you know or other singers or
Right.
it doesn't matter. It if also if you can make me think, it always is kind of a more positive thing. But also like jumping from things like Cartoon Violence and Busy Port to like Camp Granada was a was a bit of a jump, and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
this is different. This is a different way to structure an album. And then you kept going, and how was it? Reed Flute Bump, where it
Yeah.
sampling from Mystery Science Theater, right?
Yup.
Yes, the entire thing was
Yeah.
like. I don't
Did you
know, this-
recognize that?
Oh yeah.
You heard it like the first time and you recognized where it was from?
Yes.
Oh
Sir.
my god. Like I don't know if I've heard anybody say that. So I'm just like, this is why I love hearing this. I'm just like, I get it, and I'm
Yeah.
just I wonder all the time, like, do people even get what this is? But yeah, it feels nice to hear that. Like, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
well, I partially get it because I grew up with Mystery Science Theater, and
right.
so I'm originally from Wisconsin. I currently live in Minnesota, but like the creator of that show is from. Nikki says I'm
Right,
kind of
because it started on
obsessed with
public
it.
access,
Yeah, and
right? Was it?
the guy that started it, Mike, actually went to the college that I went to as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah. So if you look at there's Mystery Science Theater 3000 the movie, he's wearing a UW Stout shirt, and that's the university I went to.
Hey.
so that's
Yo.
a lot of that around here. But yeah, I grew up with that. I even had a cousin that pirated every single episode and put them onto a big
Yo.
collection. So,
Oh,
so my
man.
love of Mystery Science Theater runs deep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
And like I don't know, like the beat from The Breakfast Machine, just like the Pee Wee Herman
Yes.
thing, like
Right.
dude, it's such a beautiful song. It's perfect. There's just I don't know, it's tough for me to break down, well, first of all, a 53 track album, but you know, specific parts and songs. So I usually, when I do listen to it, I just listen to it in a big chunk, like
Right.
yeah, just as I go. And I have to tell you, actually, when oh, where was it? Sorry, I'm just looking through my list here. Oh, Jumps the Shark. When you drop Jumps the Shark, I was in the middle of very northern Minnesota on a bachelor party camping weekend, and we had shit service, and I stopped in the middle of a hike and I downloaded that song and listened to it, and I messaged you, I think, like right after.
Oh, oh
So-
man.
Yeah, it's
Stories like that, I can't handle stories like that because I'm just over here making music, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
just to hear people, because I'm hearing stories like that, I'm just like, wow, this means something. But yeah, like, because I'm just over here putting music out, and it's just like, yeah. That means a lot. Yeah.
yeah, dude. I like I said, I was waiting. I always look forward to the new releases. So
Oh, do I have a whopper for you then?
yeah,
Like, yeah, I mean, exclusive information. Like, I'm gonna see if I can't record it tonight. Like, do you follow me on Instagram? I've been talking about this on Instagram this whole time.
I should,
like-
but I don't. I don't think.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
I
you
mean-
had an Instagram. But yeah, I will do
This whole
that.
time, I'm like, you've been following me for years and you don't know how to Instagram?
No, to be fair, I don't do much on Instagram myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I use it a lot. Yeah. Yeah, like I literally this past couple of weeks I've been working on a verse that has ballooned to 15 minutes now.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, it's like it's just bars, 15 minutes straight. And I'm gonna see if I can't record that soon. But like, yeah, like after a good, because I haven't put anything out for a little bit, right? Like, so I was just like, let me get back in the groove of things, and I always just, again, bread and butter is just writing raps. And I'm just like, well, let me just write some raps, and it turned into writing a lot of raps. But that's the next thing I'm gonna put out. It's gonna be called Inside Baseball. I don't know when it should be like the end of this week. We'll see soon. So that'll be a fun. Bro, the Genius page for that is going to be a monster. I'm not looking forward to annotating that, but
I wish you luck.
I'm gonna date it. But yeah, like I wanted to say, like with Mystery Science Theater 3000, like, so I'm young. Like I wasn't there like that for the thing, but
Yeah.
I forget how I found out about it. I think it was before the Netflix thing happened.
Yeah.
But I found out about it, and somewhere in the haze of creating the first Ultra or something, yeah, it got in there, and I was just like, this is it, huh? Like this is Ultra. This is people just for a long time looking at this old piece of media and cracking joke after joke after joke, rapid fire. None of them are connected.
Yeah.
And some of the references, oh my god, references are like, what are you even talking about, right? It's like local businesses. Oh my god, like, are you kidding? That's what we're referencing here.
Yeah.
Like, it was, and it's one of those pieces of media where I saw it and I was like, okay, if they can do that
Yeah.
and get where they're at, then I have permission to do whatever I want, because that is so extreme. Like, if this exists, if that kind of format exists,
Mhm.
then taking that kind of writing and smushing it all together so it's all just one dense rap song, all the chaos, all the weird humor, then yeah, this is it. Like, so yeah, like I would hope that somebody who's super into Mystery Science Theater would hear, like, if you're a fan of that, I would like to believe that you would be a fan of Ultra too, because it's kind of Mystery Science Theater in music. It's kind of what I'm shooting for with the rapid fire references and all that,
Oh yeah.
writing wise, totally. So that's really really nice to hear. It really really is.
Chronic Kiwi saying, "Hey, Mr. Masters on Twitch, so you got another fan in the chat."
Hey, I posted it on Instagram, being like, I don't know, I haven't been looking at the chat. I'm kind of just talking to you, you know.
No worries, it's all good.
So
I'm just trying to keep
hi,
up any
chat.
questions that come in.
I'll take any of them. I'll field any of them. But yeah, I posted on Instagram being like, hey, I don't know who's here, but like, shout out if you're here from Instagram, shout out y'all.
You've been followed. There we go.
Me?
Yes, I followed you.
On Instagram. I was like, hey, let's go.
Yeah, man.
This is a question that I like asking people just to see, like, and take this wherever you want. Like, have you learned anything from Ultra?
Learned anything? That's a tough
And
question.
I mean content in the lyrics or anything other than that, right? Hey, I mean, yeah, I don't like, you don't need to like.
I've got a stupid response if that helps.
What do you mean, please?
That Bjork had a stalker.
Yeah, no, literally that. Yeah, stuff like
yeah.
that too. I love that too, where it's like, that one is kind of a dicey
Yeah.
bit, because I think there's a comment on there that was like, they saw the video because of the song. And I was like, okay, when I made the song, I was not being like, hey, because that's a joke, you know, when I say in the song. So what I say in the song, I guess, for people who are not familiar, I have this bit in a song called Goldie Looking Chain where I say, it's like a little interlude, it's spoken kind of, where I'm like, okay, I have this really funny joke that I want to tell you, but it's about Ricardo Lopez's video diaries. And Ricardo Lopez was the name of a stalker that Bjork had in '96, and he sent a bomb in the mail to her, I think. Like, he was obsessed with her, and it got to one of those obsessive levels of fandom, and he committed suicide on camera. So I was like, I have a joke about this, but it doesn't make sense unless you watch the video. So watch the video and come back here, and I'll tell you the joke. And that's not a joke about that. It's about it's about joking and how I'm shooting myself in the foot. I guess maybe it's not the appropriate metaphor to use it. I'm kind of setting myself up here for failure, where, like, it's a joke about how I tell jokes and how, if I'm going to reference something, you need to be aware of the thing that I have referenced for you to really get it.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to enjoy Ultra, watch all of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah.
Then come back, and then you can have a greater appreciation of what I'm talking about. It's a meta-type commentary, I guess, on songwriting for me. So, yeah, even stuff like that. Like, literally, like, at some point, I want to say definitely by Cubed, when I was I mean, obviously by the syllabus, everything started taking a little bit more of an educational angle, where I was like, okay,
The syllabus. That just
yeah.
awfully spot on.
Yeah, I'm saying.
It took me back, and it hurt me a little.
Oh.
Chronic Kiwi, by the way, says, yeah, I'm the one who texted you about Destroy Us All.
Oh, hey, okay, there we go. Yeah, family. There we go. Came through.
But yeah, man, that is overly accurate for every single professor I ever had in college, man. It was.
But yeah, I mean, like, I was starting a new semester, and it was funny because that was the first song that I had made after a pretty long hiatus from music, period. And it coincided with the start of this new semester at college for me, and I was going to classes. And what happens first day is like, hey, welcome to class, here's the syllabus, blah blah blah, the same thing that happens every time. And I just kind of had the passing thought, the thought emerged out of my subconscious, huh, this is like so routine that it's a kind of format. Huh, this is a kind of format that I could mad lib into a song, because it's like, okay, where's the room?
Yeah.
Somebody is in the class who is a freshman and they think they're in the right class and they're not and they have to leave. Like
Yeah.
things that have, okay, the hours, the textbook, which is a real textbook, I think you're aware of that. Like the hours, the homework assignments, the classroom policies, whatever. It's like, oh, I could just take all these things and literally mad lib them into a, what if Ultra was like a class like that, just like a funny little flipping of that. But even then, though, it, because in that hiatus from songwriting, all I had was 32 songs and a lot of time to reflect on what I had done with those songs.
Yeah.
So I wasn't making, like, the first 32 songs of Ultra was just me on my feet for like a year and a half, just making and learning and growing and writing and recording, just nonstop for what felt like a year and a half. And then everything kind of halted, and I needed to reevaluate some stuff and reflect. And all I had was that bit of music and being like, okay, I'm just going to think about this for months now, basically. And it became less about the making and more about the understanding. I mean, interpretation, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was not the maker of this music anymore. I was just a listener, and I was just trying to make sense of it like you were or anybody else was. I'm like, what does this mean? I mean, lyrically, like, what is the bigger something here? And because in that time I was also thinking a lot about myself and my future, it all got wrapped up and was like, wait a second, there's a bigger reason for me to do this. And it's not just making funny references because they're funny and references, but because these are opportunities to learn. Like, I could have, like, I kind of just mentioned the Hollywood blacklist and McCarthyism as a theme, kind of just cuz, but then I'm like, wait a second, what if this could be a kind of gateway into history, like the history of America in the 1950s or something? Like, it's a teaching tool. It has the potential to be one. Right now, I don't even know if it is still. Like, I hope that in me having conversations like this, people can see that it's not just funny raps anymore. It kind of is. I'm never just going to throw that away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's funny raps in service of something else now, too, which is education. So, like, whether it's something as big as everything I'm talking about here with identity and philosophy and epistemology and methods of thinking, knowledge acquisition, like all these things, like super, super deep language, linguistic communication, stuff like that, like super broad stuff like that. That's, I hope where it could lead to, that's where it is for me as like the professor emeritus of Ultra or whatever. It's like, that's where I'm taking it. But like at the ground level, if it is something like somebody didn't know, I mean, it sucks that it's the Bjork thing, but like some other piece of information that, like, okay, so like in Annihilates, right? Like, I've had somebody talk to me about how in that line where I say, how dare you go to sleep?
Being
more
dumb than you, when you were, when
yeah.
more dumb than when you woke up, right?
Yeah, how dare you go to sleep more dumb than when you woke up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of rewording of a quote from Charlie Munger. It's like a business thing. Obviously, this is where I'm like, the business comes in, and I'm starting to look more into business stuff. I started like, oh, that's something, and now that's in Ultra, right?
Yeah.
So I hope it's something like that, where it's like, that's not me saying that. That's a quote from somebody else, but
you took it further.
A little bit. I didn't even take it that far, actually. It was just kind of just saying it on record because I heard it and was like, this actually is really helpful for you. Just
No, keep going.
Okay, yeah. It was just like, so yeah, I didn't do too much. Like, I'm trying to do that more with songs recently. Obviously, like, this again speaks to the progression and the fact that I've been doing it for longer. In the beginning, it's far more based on humor. It's pure humor. It's references for the fun of it. The first 15 songs are really just me figuring out the sound of Ultra sonically. where I'm just sampling Pee Wee Herman because I like Pee Wee Herman, and I'm just trying to, it's fun. It's just me trying to be like, what even is this? But it's like, okay, now that I had the 15 figured out, now that it has legs and can stand on its own, let me go and try and get a little bit more brainy about it and bring things like meaning and knowledge and education in it, and to just only increase that incorporation of education and whatnot into it as time goes on. And now I'm hoping that in the more recent songs, there's, especially in this super stupid long one that I'm about to put out, that there's a lot of stuff that if you haven't clocked it before, here it is. So instead of it being the Bjork thing, maybe it could be something like that, where it's a kind of philosophy where, yeah, there's still like the stupid jokes about me being the spokesman for Pfizer and asking why, and it's because you make people sick. But in the same song is, don't go to sleep dumber than you woke up. Like, learn every day. Yeah. So like, it's such a chaotic thing, and I hope that like some people can get something out of that. Because I worry, right, that in the future, I hope that I can make that a little bit more obvious. But right now, I don't think it is as obvious that much thought goes into it. Maybe if you look into it a little bit deeper and had that same feeling that I hope other people have when they hear something like cartoon violence, where it's just like, this is the feeling the reaction that I strive for, where it's not, this sucks, I hope not. It's not, this is amazing. It's just like, weird. I don't know if I like this, but there's something here. I think this guy knows what he's doing. I just don't really get it. Like, that's a really specific reaction. And I think maybe even something like MC Frontalot maybe could be that too, where people hear that and it's just like they hear the meticulous detail in the lyrics, and it's just in the flows, and it's just like, wait, what? And people aren't even seeing what he's saying. But even maybe Mystery Science Theater 3000, where it's like a weird format, and you hear the jokes they're talking about, and they're just like, what? Is this even funny? But then if you look, it's like, wait, but they can't just be talking like, it's way too, like the skits, the in-between skits, it's like, those are written way too, like the one that I used in Read Food Bump, that's written very, very densely, and has a lot of like references in it, and it's just like, you can't look at that and be like, oh, these guys are just some stupid college students recording a silly skit in their dorm room. It's like, these people know what they're talking about. I just don't think I get it. It's a very specific reaction, right? So I hope that, but I worry that, especially because I'm on SoundCloud and am a rapper, but the odds are kind of stacked against me, and people are just, I worry that people don't see that. But if they don't, I kind of want to like make it obvious. Like, if they don't, I want to like, it's part of why I want to keep having conversations like this, because I can actually say, like, this is what went into it. If it's not obvious, I hope it is kind of obvious in some way. But at the same time, I don't want it to be too obvious, because then it would take away from the art of it. That's the like rub, right? Yeah. Because if I made it purely educational, then it would be boring and dry and not be a good song. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, like walking that wire of being a good hip hop song and being smart. Because obviously, if you try and pair those, it's not very good. Nobody's done it good yet. I think I'm onto something here. I think I got it. But I worry that it's not there yet. But it'll get there. But that's something that I really hope that people get out of it. Because I'm talking about so much random stuff in the project. That's like, I hope that people
really are.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that, like, if you're not me, there has to be some sort of something that you hear. And like, if you listen to a couple songs, you're going to run into something where you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I hope. And like, all I can hope is that maybe you go to Genius. Maybe you're the kind of person that I am, where if I am listening to a podcast or something and I hear somebody say a name I've never heard before, I stop everything and look up that name and the name of something, right? So I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, I want to get that. And it's like, if like Ultra rewards that active participation in the music versus passivity, because if you're just letting the music wash over you passively, awesome, great. Like, again, heady, brainy, everything aside, I want these to be good songs. I am as much a producer as I am a lyricist, and by the way, I don't know how many people in nerdcore make beats like that, like who are rapper producers. I don't know if I can think of anybody, but And I feel like something like that plays a really important role in music making in hip hop because you're in control of the words and the music, right? So it like that's part of why I could even make the style because the part of why I could make the style entirely my own because I had the words and I had the beats. And so if you let the music just wash over you, I hope the beats are still good, right? Like not even funny, right? It's just like this is why I put the instrumentals out because if you listen to the instrumentals, they're intricate, right? It's there's a lot going on just in the instrumentals, and obviously as time goes on, it gets more complex with the drum programming. And if you hear an instrumental like Big Finish, oh my God, that instrumental took a bit. That
Oh,
was
I'm
a
sure.
while
Yeah.
effort went into that, and like I hope that's just a good beat. Again, aside from all the rappy, brainy, educational anything, like if you listen to it, like I just if you don't care about all the educational opportunity I'm throwing at you, fine. I want this to still just be a good rap song. I still want my voice to be kind of maybe not pleasing, but distinct and give off an air of this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, cause presence on record is its own thing to develop
Yeah.
when it comes to command of your voice on record. And I try my best to do that. That is like thanks to theater and years of doing that, right? So I hope my voice sounds nice. I mean, obviously I can sing, so like I think I'm an okay singer. So maybe if you don't like Ultra, there are songs where I'm singing and I'm not jokily singing. I'm actually trying. Like I got the chops to sing still, and I hope that comes across. If
Yeah,
not
man.
on Ultra, then in the songs where I'm singing. So like if if you don't look into all the content stuff, fine. I still want it to be good music. If you do, then you discover the Genius page, and then you discover my Instagram, and then you discover the subreddit, and then you discover that you can hit me up, and I will literally just have a one-on-one conversation with you,
Yeah.
like about the music, and it doesn't even like, it's not even a thing. Like, so like, cause that's anything like Mystery Science Theater or Nerdcore or whatever. It's like any niche something because it's small. It's like you can do so much for the people who follow it, because I mean, obviously, anybody who loves any niche anything loves it wholeheartedly. There's nobody who kind of likes nerdcore, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
true.
you don't like it or you love it. It is your life, and that's still me. But like, and so me being at the level I'm at, I can do stuff like that and be like, okay, if you like what I do, if you care enough to like what I do, then maybe I could do something else for you. And I'm not busy, right? I don't have millions of fans to take care of. It's like, if you want to talk to me about this, we can talk as people and just, if you got some sort of value out of the music, maybe me as an artist and as someone who just likes to deliver, I guess, just to return on investment, be like, if you like this music and it helped you out, maybe I can help you out in some other way too. Because you literally you specifically for liking the stuff for as long as you had and keeping in contact for this long, it's like we're friends. Like you're
Yeah.
not, I don't like calling people a fan or anything. It's like it's a weird dynamic, and like in the conversations that I've been having with people, people have been nervous to talk to me, and I'm like, that is not okay. Like I'm just so nobody, it doesn't even matter. So like I want to like lessen that, get rid of that whole thing, and just be like, look, you're doing me an incalculable service for even paying attention to what I'm doing. Like, if nobody listened to the music, I would still be doing it. But if you are and you see all the effort that's going into it and you recognize it, awesome. Thank you. What else can I do for you? Like, that's just me being, I don't want to say charitable, but like gracious, me being
Yeah.
like grateful, being like, oh my God, thank you. Is there anything else I can do for you? Because there's maybe other stuff that I could do for you beyond making good music for you or whatever. It's like, because again, I figured something out making this music. And I was like, if I have the great fortune to have people who are interested in me thanks to the music, maybe I can quote unquote spread the good word about what I've found and be like, this has gotten me far. It's like it's helped me figure out a lot of stuff, and hopefully in me, because it's only like I wouldn't have been able to talk like this. I mean, word wise, the way that I'm talking right now, just over like 2 hours nearly, just fleshing all this out. It's like this is what has gone into it, and making this project has led me to being able to has led me to be able to speak like this, stutteringly,
Yeah.
um, but as in depth and as high fidelity as I am right now. And I'm like, maybe if making Ultra can do that for me, listening to Ultra and listening to me talk about Ultra can do that for you in a way that makes it so it's you, right? Because again, returning to identity, I guess, because this is where my brain is taking me, it's so easy to see somebody have their identity figured out, somebody else have their identity figured out, and steal it. You know what I mean? Like, take it.
Yeah.
They got it already. So the last thing, like, I worry about this so often that if I were ever to get to a point where I'm actually kind of, I don't know, so, like, seen and have some sort of public profile or whatever, and my fan base grows, whatever, like, I'm not counting on that. But if it does, I worry so much that it'll turn into people wearing orange hoodies and trying to say, yeah, like me or whatever, and saying bang and doing all the stuff that I do. And it's like, you know, Ultra was me figuring myself out. You, I'm talking, maybe not you specifically, but like you, like whoever is listening right now, you figuring yourself out isn't Ultra. I called it Ultra because who cares? Like I just stumbled across the word Ultra, works for me.
Yeah.
It means something that I figured out completely on my own. And it's just skyrocketed recently, but it's just, that's the core of it. Like, nobody gave this to me. It's like I figured this out all my, like, so people, it is probably really easy to just see somebody with your eyes and be like, how they dress, how they talk, how they carry themselves, to steal that. It's so much more difficult to steal how they got there. Years and years of unconscious, attentive effort, deliberate practice, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's a difficult thing to steal. Mindset, attitude. That's a really difficult thing to steal just because it's a difficult thing to even make sense of. Like, for you, it's probably different because you've actually seen the progression, but if somebody saw me now and just saw the way that I'm talking right now, it's like, it looks fully formed, which is great, awesome. I hope so. As much effort as I put into it, I hope it looks pretty goddamn good. But then there are people like you and like my friends in real life who saw the ups and the downs and the embarrassment of like the awkwardness, the trying but not really getting there type thing. It's like something highlight reel versus behind the scenes something quote. But yeah, it's like if people are gonna steal anything from me, steal the way that I think about stuff, and steal my work ethic.
Yeah.
Like, don't steal the style, steal the fact that I made a 53-song album, and start on your own, kind of. Something like that. I forget how I got here, but
It's all good.
that happens sometimes.
For sure, man. Sorry, I got a dog that wants attention. That's all.
Tell them I say hi.
Yeah. Do you want? Jump up. Okay. This is Zuko.
Oh, is the dog there?
Yeah, he is. He's.
I haven't been watching the stream. Is it on the stream?
Dude, he's on my lap.
I don't.
Yeah. He just wants attention. Get down. Okay. And Nikki, my wife, says, "You're very intimidating."
Me?
Joking.
Me? Why? Okay. What?
Because you were saying that if people were intimidated beating you, that you just
I don't.
weren't going to have that.
No, it's gross. I'm like, I literally say like, imagine if somebody was freaking out to meet you. It's like, isn't that like, ugh, like it's the exact same thing. I'm nobody. Like whatever feeling that you felt when I said that is like, yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
To be fair, I've done probably less than you.
Oh, but
Quite a bit
still, I
less.
mean, like, in the grand scheme of things, internet-wise, it's still like at the same level of I haven't really done anything. Like, I mean, there's a way to write everything such that I've just been making music. Just that's it. Like I have this whole tale that I spin about life and philosophy. It's just like I've been in here writing raps and recording myself saying raps with stupid beats and stupid voices. Like, there's nothing to be like super freaked out over. I'm just messing around. At the end of the day, I kind of just am.
Yeah. So you said you were thinking about trying to record that new track, but how often, like, usually how many takes does each track take? I'm curious.
Oh, a lot. I mean, well, it
Or,
depends. I mean,
or is it in sections, I guess, is the question.
well, it's usually comped. This might man behind the curtain,
Sure.
magic's greatest tricks revealed type of the music, but like comping the vocals. I don't know if you're aware of like that technique, but you line by line, like pretty much everything, like pretty much every song is cobbled together from multiple different takes. I mean, line by line. Sometimes I'll record a line and then I don't like how I said a certain word, and I'll record just the word and like Frankenstein all the takes together, so that's what it sounds like. That's how it gets to be as just streamlined as it is. So, and by the way, I think I heard somewhere that MC Frontalot does the same thing, like just comping all the vocal like line by line, just really getting. Because I remember hearing him say that he's only as good of a rapper as he is because he's as good of a engineer, audio technician
I
as he is because like mixing the stuff.
Yeah, I think he has said that before. There's there's also something about the way his flow
Yeah,
is just
yeah, man.
he's unlike anybody else.
Yes, exactly. And literally, like, if I could go on my whole little thing about MC Frontalot, like, it's so fitting that he made Tongue Clucking Grammarian as, like, he cares about grammar. He made me care about grammar, is what it is. And I feel like that's how you can really tell the difference because if you look at his lyrics on paper, just typed out, it's as complicated structurally as an academic paper or something. Just the way, like literarily, it's just the structure of the sentences. It's like versus I did this, like simple sentences, right? Whereas I did this here and you are not doing that over there, something like that. It's like because obviously his vocabulary is really big, but just grammatically, like obviously if I feel like once you get a command of grammar like that, it automatically makes it so you speak in a different way. You say sentences in a different way, and it unlocks new rhythms that you wouldn't have been able to access if you just spoke in really simple sentences. Rhythmically, like just beats and flow like that, right? So I feel like that's part of why it's like if he's gonna write stuff that is as grammatically precise as it is, then the flow just automatically comes off weird because nobody's paying attention to grammar like that. But if you do, the sentences come off really fancy and the rhythms come off really fancy too. So flow wise, yeah, that's my thing that I take from him. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, like if you really break that, like I hope that if you side by side some lyrics of mine with MC Frontalot's, you can just see the influence completely. It's like it's really obvious. But yeah. Yeah, so he I think he said something like he was more interested in home recording than rapping itself, something like that. And yeah, it's like that's what you do when you can comp stuff. You don't need to be like a crazy good vocal performer, but any vocal performer at all can record 100 different times the same line and get one that's really good and then save that and then add it all together. That's a really extreme version, but that kind of thing where you record and record until you get a good take and then you get the next one and then you add them all together and that's what you do. So that being said though, it's funny. So I want to say there are some songs that are recorded in longer takes, especially recently because I moved back home for Cube, basically. That was part of the like big change that I went through, and my whole recording setup changed, and it got complicated. I had to figure it out for a bit, and part of that figuring out was me needing to record longer takes and not to get super fancy about it because my software was acting up and like I was just really not sure what I was doing. So like instead of being that meticulous, which I could be in a studio at a university with all that software going fine, but if I'm doing it here, I'm like, okay, I can't be that particular. I need to record stuff in one take more. Sure. And that's Please Hold, that's Interrobang, that's more of that a couple of songs that aren't in Ultra that were recorded in pretty much one take. Funny thing, I don't know if you know that song, but like
I do.
That was pretty. Yeah. So I think that was recorded. Each of those verses, I think, might have been recorded in 2 takes, or right. So something like that. So sometimes it gets really like Big Finish, for example. So that was like I'm gonna record every couple of lines like so that I can get them to the best that they can be, and also because I can't be that energetic for straight because I need to take breaths and stuff.
Yeah,
so
I can understand that.
But at the same time, like I like the idea that it sounds inhuman comes to mind, but like it's like it sounds impossible, right? It's like you can't take a big enough breath to be able to say all those things at that loud of a volume. If you can't, but if you can edit it together so it sounds like that, then. And I've done it for long enough that I can kind of get it so it's pretty seamless, I think. Like, I don't want to point out where I'm doing it, but just so you know. Like, like it's everywhere, and I hope that if I've done it right, you don't notice. That it's a bunch of different takes cobbled together to make this one thing. So Magic's biggest secrets revealed.
And my wife also has the question of Marry Fuck Kill MC Edition, Frontalot, Lars, and Chris.
Kill Lars. That was too quick. I'm sorry. Wait. No. Maybe I should kill Chris. Wait. Oh, this is bad. I don't like this. I don't want this off record. Like, fuck Frontalot. God damn it.
She says it's the most important question.
It is the least important question. Marry Lars and kill Chris. Next question.
Are there any new artists that you've recently discovered that are kind of on your radar?
Why didn't you just ask this question instead?
I'm sorry. That was my wife asking that question, man.
Okay, so Jumps the Shark and the song that I literally just put out a couple days ago. I don't know if you heard it, Tip 3000.
I have not.
Both
yet.
of those songs. Yeah, I put out a new song. Check it out.
Yeah.
But.
Sorry, I saw it right at the top of your SoundCloud. That's why.
Yeah. Good song. But like that one and Jumps the Shark are both inspired by the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia. That sound, and it's people like Zanman and Young Manny who are kids basically. They're younger than me, definitely. And this is the important thing too, being like there are kids out there innovating when it comes to hip hop, and it's important to pay attention to them, not to just double down on super lyrical underground stuff that came out forever ago, to be like, what's going on right now?
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to pay attention to new artists. I mean, in hip hop, definitely that. And I mean, like people like TJX6, where the flow is like, if you hear their songs, it's just, they don't care about the flow at all. They're so offbeat. It's like they don't even know what a beat is. It's crazy. As somebody who's been so self-imposed, technically trained when it comes to rhythm, to hear somebody like even G Herbo, who's been around for a bit, but people who rap super, super offbeat, even people like Blueface, like that whole style that's going on, to hear people rap like that, it's like, it does not compute. And I've been trying to square that. And I think I've gotten it, which is funny. I mean, like, how I got to where I've gotten stylistically is by trying on a bunch of different artists' flows and styles. Sure. And seeing if it fit, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does. And the DMV style is so much fun to play around with. I mean, talk about recording. Like, if you hear the songs like that, they literally have the lines just spilling over top of each other, and it sounds like a mess. And it's just like, oh my god, this is crazy in like the best way, in like the energetic, chaotic, rebellious kind of way, and that really resonates with me. So that whole sound, Young Manny and Zan Man, and that thing is like, it's really going to me. Like, that's my thing, where it's like, I want to rap like them now. I have little phases where I'm like, I want to make a song like that person. I want to rap like that. I want to rap like them. I want to rap like that little scene. To say nothing of like the UK drill scene, which I've been up on the UK for like a bit now. I've always stayed up on that. Like, I pay as much attention to their new music releases as American ones. And I mean, outside of hip hop, all I've been doing musically, really, in terms of discovery, is building this playlist that I have on Spotify on my artist page. I don't know if you've seen. It's called the Ultra Variety Radio playlist. Ultra Variety Radio, and it's all stuff. It's all my favorite songs, basically. I'm just looking for any new artist and adding songs to that playlist. And it's like, it's mainly indie rock kind of stuff, but it's also just stuff from all over the place. It's rap stuff too. It's R&B. It's like all over the place. And that's what I've been listening to more than anything. Not even rap, really, right? It's like been stuff that isn't even, it's outside of that genre. It's been more pop stuff, I guess. But, and I'm talking like, I love finding artists who are just incredible, and they have half the following I have. That's just, oh my god, you believe that? There are a couple songs on that playlist I'm talking about where it's like they have under 1,000 plays. I'm like, this is criminal for a song to be this good, right? So it's like, and I can even name them. Like, I'll literally just be digging through Spotify, and I'll find a song that is just a gem, and it's not even an artist thing. I've been thinking way more in terms of just songs. Like, what is a good song for somebody versus an entire artist? It takes a lot for me to like a whole, like an artist's entire something. So, but I know a good song when I hear it, and I've been looking for good songs more often than not. And that playlist is just, that is my music taste right now. This is like, that playlist is only songs that I like front to back every second of that song. So that's where I'm at when it comes to music and stuff. Stylistically, it's DMV right now only.
I'm sure that shifts. I mean, I think
of course.
it shifts for everybody. I personally, and this happens with music, and it happens with video games a lot too. It's actually, I'll be playing something or listening to something strictly for like a month, and then just move on, and then it usually comes back around the same time, like every year. It's a weird thing. It's something that I've been doing since I was in middle school, when we played Diablo 2 in the fall, and that always comes around in like fall time. I'm like, I kind of have to play Diablo 2.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's a weird thing, but
yeah, I have my little phases too, where like I'll have, again, it's kind of more songs, like where I'll kind of like really really like it and play it out, and then be like, I'm kind of sick of this, but then out of nowhere I'll be like, like I remember like recently, like I heard, it might have been on the radio, like I heard "Walk Like an Egyptian" by the Bangles.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, this song is amazing. Like, I never realized that, like, I was always aware of that song, but then it took me to like hear it in a certain time in my life where I'm just like, now I have, then that song's on the playlist. Because I'm just like, wow, I really, really, like, I was surprised. I was like, so like, and yeah, I'll like have phases where like I'll be obsessed with a song and then it'll go away, and then out of nowhere I'll just kind of remember it and be like, I really want to listen to that song for some reason. So artists too, like I like when, like recently when it came to like writing this super long verse, like I did go back and listen to MC Frontalot and Paul Barman, and like I'm not listening to them all the time, right? But like sometimes, even when I'm writing, but sometimes it'll just be like, I'll feel the need to just, I have another playlist, it's private, and it's called Justification, and it's Frontalot and MC Paul Barman and Doom and Cool Keith, and it's just like, just so I can remind myself that if I ever get lost when it comes to Ultra, which happens sometimes, like stylistically, like in my head, I just kind of like, I'm not really feeling it for some reason, I just have that playlist to be like, oh yeah, because I literally forget. I'm just in my own little world with all this, and then I'm just like, oh yeah, I kind of do want to listen to some MC Frontalot right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that happens too. Yeah, I get you. I get you. Seasonally is interesting though, like annually, because it'll be years for me.
There's some bands that I can say are for certain times of the year. Like She Wants Revenge is a very autumn and fall kind of music because it's kind of depressing, but it's also I don't know, it just fits the mood of the season a little bit, where everything's kind of getting gray and I don't know if you've ever listened to She Wants Revenge before.
I have not. I will after this.
If you've ever watched the number 23.
Oh, the movie?
Yeah, the movie.
Oh.
That they had a track in that called "Tear You Apart." That's really good. Also, one I would suggest you check out. There's a British artist that used to go by a different name. His name is Sam Duckworth, but he used to go by Get Cape, Wear Cape, Fly.
What?
Yeah, that was his name. I have a Get
Oh.
Cape.
I see it. Yeah, I see it now. I just Googled it.
I have a small obsession with really interesting, weird band names. Not so much if they're great, because I mean, if they're good, I'll keep listening to them. But if they're horrible, I just like, oh, this is an awful name, whatever, you know, or it's an interesting name, you know.
That's a really good name. I just also saw that on his Wikipedia page. He is also sometimes referred to as Get Cape, acronym of Get Cape, and Slam Dunkworth.
He's one I would recommend to just about anybody, because his songs are really catchy and just good. But my favorite still ever, and the band isn't good, but is Bobby Joe Ebola and the Children McNuggets. I thought that was really good.
Bobby Joe Ebola.
Yep.
And the what was it?
The Children McNuggets.
Well, that's in my search history now.
Yes, it is. You're right. Slam Duckworth is fantastic.
Oh man, that's a bar. Watch me use that. Watch me use that. That'll probably end up in the song that I'm writing right now. I'm not done with that 15-minute song writing. I'm still writing it, so it steals everything.
That's fine, man. You can steal whatever you want. On the subject of college, since you said you're still going, are you working at anywhere right now, or are you just kind of living the college life?
I am not. I mean, what life is there to live right now in any capacity?
That's pretty fair, man.
I mean, it sucks because before everything happened, I actually was hired as a tutor at my community college, which is where I was before. And I was tutoring economics and accounting, which, can you believe that, right? Like, tell 19-year-old journalism major me that 5 years later I'm tutoring accounting to people, but yeah, there I am. So that's the closest thing that I've gotten to a job, pretty much.
Sure.
Just getting money from doing that, which was its own journey, right? I mean, fostering independence, right? Like being a tutor. Again, it's deeper than the money, obviously. It's deeper than it's deeper than the material, the homework, whatever. It's like, to be a tutor, they said you had to take this class on how to be a tutor, right? And what the main like takeaway from it was that the tutor is meant to foster independence in a student and make it so that if a student walks in and they're in trouble and you help them and then they leave, the measure of how well you did as a tutor is whether or not they come back. Because, which is a really rough measurement, but like just roughly, like if they don't come back, what that's supposed to mean, and it's not supposed to be like a one-to-one thing, but what that should mean is that they don't need you anymore, right? It's like now, it's like, okay, before they ran into oh my god, I don't get this, let me go to tutoring. So if they run into that again, it's like, oh my god, I don't get this, wait, let me just do that thing that tutor taught me and try harder and calm down or something like that, right? Beyond just what the material calls for, but being like, this is how you study, this is how you do homework, this is how you do any homework, not just this assignment. So the tutoring goes best when the student leaves not needing the tutoring anymore. And in the same way that I don't want people to just keep going back to Ultra for whatever, it's like I hope that Ultra can kind of spark something in somebody that makes it so they can dream as big as I did when making this project with something else. You know what I mean? Like now, if they see that this can be done with music, maybe they can do it with something else, which is a hard, like, it takes a leap, but to like kind of gather that, because it's not a tutoring thing. Ultra didn't start as an educational something, but only now am I trying to rework it to have it be that. But that's yeah, so that was precisely from the tutoring experience I had. It's like, oh, there's a relationship you can have with somebody where it's like you're not giving them the answers, obviously. You're giving them a method for answering that they can use on their own. And when they don't come back and they don't need you, that's the success. Where they just go off and it's like, now they don't need me. Awesome, right? Something parenting. Like overlap there, but I'll just kind of lampshade that there's a parenting thing that can be said about that. But that's what tutoring's on. Till then, yeah. But yeah, aside from that, like, it's just been full-time studiing. I mean, like, all my time has been taken with Ultra pretty much. So it's like I want to like fix that in the future with some sort of something, but right now it's just that's my whole thing with working. That's all I've done.
Shows you just how long we've been talking.
I don't like it.
Yeah, man. Trying to think. I had other questions. Do you have any questions? Aren't there fires happening in California right now? Isn't that a thing? I know you said it was hot, but probably not that hot.
I mean, there in San Diego, a ship blew up. If we want to talk current events, like, yeah, it was crazy. I mean, just to like randomly go off here. Shoot, I should talk about that on record actually. But like, yeah, some sort of malfunction happened on the ship, and smoke went all over the place, and I woke up with smoke like everywhere. Not like it's smoke everywhere, but like the smell of smoke just being all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think so. I mean, it's just been terribly hot. I've been sweating like a pig in here because this room is kind of insulated, I guess. But yeah, otherwise I'm good. I'm chilling, honestly.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I really want to ask is like a variation of what did you learn from it? Because, do you see what I'm saying? Like, what has it done for you this whole time? Like, just to like speak on that, because like I hope it's like all I've been doing is thinking about it this deep. I don't know if you've been, but like what do you make of everything I'm talking to you right now? Because we haven't talked in person, right? It's like
that's true. Yeah.
Like, just so you know, this is who is behind all this. I hope it's not very different from what it kind of sounds like on record, but like.
You know,
like,
it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I'll say that. That's not a bad thing. No. Something that I don't know if I pride myself on this, but it's just something that is just part of me, is I am somebody who does seek out learning pretty much no matter what I'm doing, whether that's making a purchase on something that I've never owned before, or I didn't mean to insult my guest. I'm sorry. Nikki just said, "Geez, Alex, way to insult your guest."
Leaves forms out of which trees.
Oh. But I mean, whether that's at my job, or just doing a small project, or I don't know, researching anything, I take time and I try to learn, and that's one thing that I do get from your music, is I dig deeper than most other music that I listen to, and that is always, I've never. Nikki says it's so annoying that I do that with everything, but and I don't shut up apparently. Sorry, I'm reading these as they come
Yeah,
in. But I don't know. It's furthering my understanding of things, and that's important to me. And on top of that,
like
the beats are nice, and I appreciate your flow and the way you put things together, and that's why I'm excited to still have you on all of my my playlists for things.
it means the world, honestly. I can't even begin to like say like it's also funny to me that like I've heard, because I don't listen to Ultra like that. I mean, like I don't know if you how regularly you listen to the music, but like I feel like as despite what I said earlier about being an artist and feeling like that sounds pretentious, it's like I do kind of see Ultra as like as time has gone on, I felt more and more like it's some sort of artistic project where it's meant to be a standalone something like art in a gallery versus art in a Denny's, let's say, like a painting hanging at Denny's. Like that's not bad. It's just it serves a different function, right? Like it's pleasing, it's pleasant. A painting like that you hang in your house or something, but eventually it fades into wallpaper, which is fine. It becomes like there's a lot to say that is good about that, but for me it's like so same thing with music. It's if you're playing it in the car or in the shower or something, it's like awesome. But I like the idea that Ultra is only on SoundCloud. That's another thing too. Like it's purposefully only on SoundCloud. I mean, I have my singles on other places, but yeah, but it's not the whole thing because I feel like the whole thing works best as a whole thing, and there's no other medium, there's no other platform that allows me to do what I'm doing, where I can keep adding songs to something after it's come out. I literally can only do it there, so I'm like, I have to do it over there. But yeah, I like the idea that it's you kind of have to go out of your way to experience all of it in the same way that you have to go out of your way to an art gallery where right? It's like it's not serving the same function. If it does, awesome. It's just like, especially nowadays, they've become more and more. I do not think about at all really, like how, like if anybody replays the songs like that. I don't know. It's like it's a different kind of motivation. Like it's like I don't make a song being like I hope people just play this out. Like I don't really think about that. I'm just like building and tinkering and painting, and then I'm put it out. And if people like it, cool. But like, I hope there's that, because it's like, I hope also that it's like, if you put cartoon violence on a playlist of other songs, it's kind of just gonna stick out, like there's no like cohesion in that playlist anymore as soon as you put a song like that in there.
You're very right when it comes to that. Yes. But it's in a good way.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah. I find it to be a good way anyway.
And like what you're saying about like, I really just hope that Ultra could make somebody into the kind of person you're saying you are, where that we are saying we are, where you're just kind of learning for the sake of learning. Like that's just the best thing that I can communicate. I mean, that's like what I learned from Ultra. It's like learning actually just didn't even be like it wasn't even like I'm gonna learn because I need to do well on a test kind of way. And I've been thinking a lot recently about standardized testing and the education system for a number of different reasons, but that's one thing where I'm like, you learn because you want to pass a test, you learn because you want to get a grade. It's like I learned because and this was actually early on, like once I really got the hang of the rapping thing, and I'm talking like 2-3 years in, I'm 15, 16, I started going to class looking for stuff to rap about. That's why I was paying attention, right? So it wasn't just like I need to pay attention to this because I need to go to school and I need to get good grades, regardless of how boring the teacher is. It's just whatever. It's like, wait a second, you can go to class because it's actually fun to learn something. And my reason is actually really specific. I don't think it's one that you can really adopt, but like the idea that, I mean, the question, the stereotypical question, when are we going to actually use any of this? Like, it's like, I have my answer, right? It's just like, this is
Yeah.
just using everything I've ever used and ever learned in school. But even then, to just get the principle out of it of you can. It's like, look, maybe you don't use differential calculus in your job or whatever, but it's like maybe you learned how to handle difficult situations in a math context specifically, like math homework. It's a different kind of stress
Yeah.
and a different kind of muscle that gets activated if you're trying to solve a math problem rather than writing an essay, let's say. And it
Yeah.
takes it like, I don't think it's that big of a like jump to be like to actually come up with an answer for that question. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe you don't use calculus or whatever, but it's like, obviously. So if you go into class being like, I'm going to get something out of this,
Mhm.
maybe it's not doing the math, but maybe it's doing anything or being motivated to do something, right? Like, it's really hard thing to like get across to people, but just the joy of learning and the fun of curiosity,
Mhm.
like the fun of not knowing something and then like that journey, that process of not knowing something and then slowly having it revealed to you that it's in such a way that makes it so you know something now. That's just priceless to me. And I'm like, why can't this be priceless for anybody? And I'm hoping that it might be that it's boring, that school is boring and teachers are bad and whatever, and like all that.
Yeah.
And,
I was gonna say that when you find a teacher or professor that really knows how to teach and really
yes,
knows
yes,
um, how to express how interesting a subject actually is,
yes,
that makes such a difference.
yes,
I had art history teachers
yes.
that would just teach from a book, and it was the most boring class
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, yeah.
Because
Oh
it's
man.
like, oh, you're gonna read, you're gonna look
Oh.
at stuff, remember this. Okay, great.
Oh man, no.
But then you have ones that like go into like little tangents about like why they like this artist and like
Right,
what they did in
right.
their life and that kind of
Yeah.
thing, and little you can tell that they care, you know. And
Yes,
maybe that's
yes.
what it is showing somebody that you care about
Yes,
what
yes,
you're talking
yes.
about. It makes a
Yes,
difference.
you're not teaching the material, you're teaching caring. You're
Mhm.
teaching somebody how to care about something. As
Yeah.
boring as what art history may be for some people, it'd be like, no, wait, you're not teaching them the material, you're teaching them how fun it is to know all this stuff.
Mhm.
Like, so it's deeper than that. Of course, you're not going to use art history like that in your life like that.
Right.
Like, but if you're exposed to something like that, that's what you learn. That's what you learn in the classes. This is what I've been thinking about with the educational system stuff that I've been looking into. Like, what is school even for, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it to expand is IQs? Is it to biggen brains or whatever? It's like maybe, but is it also to teach people about how to be people? Maybe, and that's
Yeah.
different, right? It's like a lot of questions to be raised there, but like that's one thing of what are teachers supposed to teach: the material or curiosity,
Mhm.
and that's where I'm at. And like everything that you said, by the way, my heart would shatter if I were in an art history class with somebody who just taught it out of the book. Oh my god.
It was awful.
Oh. Oh,
I, I've had very bad art professors, and the one. So we got to the final day of class. We had just taken the final, which is a written essay final, and I had written a paper, and the paper was supposed to be like 4 pages or something like that, and it was on an artist that she just kind of assigned out of the book and whatever. And I had done the thing, and my paper was awful, and she gave it back the last day and gave me it was like a D or something, because I just didn't care, you know. And I got it back and it said, we need to talk about this. And I was already handing in my final, and I knew I was doing fine, and I knew I'd passed. So I was like, fuck it, I'm leaving. I mean, like, it's just,
Yeah. Dang.
if I would have cared, A, that paper would have been a lot better, but B, you know, I would have stayed and actually talked through things. And it's teaching, the mark of a good teacher, man. If you can
Yes.
have a good conversation and you know that they're excited about what they're talking about, it
Right.
makes all the difference.
Right. And that is just, it's understandable, but it's so justified what you did, but it's also just so it shouldn't be like that. You should have done that given the circumstances, but like systemically, that is not how that. Yeah, that is not how that's supposed to go. And so, given everything that I've said here too, I'm hoping that that's what I can do too, and not be like a 50-year-old flamboyant man teaching art history or something. Like, I can be somebody who's in the seats, right? I can be like in the classroom on the other side being like, hey, I'm having a really good time learning all this stuff, right? It doesn't have to be a teacher being like, hey, let me convince you that math is actually fun. It's like I'm sitting here being like, wow, this shit is incredible, right? Like, I mean it, right? Being it just as somebody who's also in the class too. I mean, like, I try to literally do this, right? Like, me being the theatrical person that I am, in accounting class, right? It's like everybody's there and just kind of, it's accounting, right?
Yeah.
Like if you could, like, and the teacher was incredible, but it's like, it's accounting. So like you can only imagine people are just kind of dozing off or whatever. But I'm over here in the front of the class, being like leaning all the way forward, being like, and making very obvious that I enjoy. Look, it's a kind of performance. Like I, being as theatrical as I am, I can't help. I hope you've seen through this whole time how much I've been gesturing and like being all over, like this is just how I am. And if I care about something, I care about it very theatrically, very obviously, very visually. And so if I can model anything, and that's like something that, you know, I think sticks with people when it comes to teachers as well. It's like the people who are animated and they speak dynamically and they're like, they love it and you can see the emotion, but the emotion is there, but also the visibility of that emotion, right? And all I can do is hope to be something like that for school in general, like not even just math or history or something, right? It's like learning, right? Just being an ambassador for learning, because that's what nerdcore could be, I think, right? It's like if nerds are super into like school or whatever, and they have their little after school study groups where they all just sit and have fun together and they study and they learn together, awesome. But it could also be like, and so what are they using rap for? That, where it's like in a study group type of insular type something, where I'm just like, wait, if you take this rapping medium, maybe you could take somebody who's a fan of rap music, and I mean rap music nowadays, mainstream rap music, and show them that there's a way to do this so that being smart and being good in school is actually a good thing. And not just a good thing, but a thing worth bragging about. And not just worth bragging about, but literally having it being something worth holding over people's heads competitively, right? Like, because that's what hip hop is, braggadocio. It's competition. It's I'm better than you. And that's something that I felt like it was missing from nerdcore, very much so. Like I say, insular. Everybody's super, I want to rap about computers and stuff like that, and I only want to do that, and I like my thing. I want to express how much I like my thing. Awesome, go ahead. As much as I wanted to be like a nerdcore rapper, like I said, like I kind of just wanted to be a rapper first. I wasn't like nerdcore, like whatever. It's just like, I want to rap, and that means if I end up in a battle rap situation, I haven't been like in a beef type situation. I that's weird, but like I've been in kind of one jokey battle. Still though, it's like it's a competition type thing where it's like, and stereotypically nerds are kind of averse to conflict. You know, they don't like sports, right? They just like over here on the side, and I'm over here on the football team, being like, I will show up everybody. Like I'm the quarterback too, low key, but I'm still doing well in all my classes or whatever. Something with the cheerleaders too. But like, literally all that going on too, and I mean it. Like, if the jocks like rap music, fine, let me rap and have it not be a nerd jock thing. Just be like, look, I can rap, and hopefully, if we're just talking about that, I can get some kind of cred, some kind of respect. I can get my due. And then from that, be like, oh yeah, by the way, not only can I rap my head off, I care a lot about learning, and that's why I'm using the skills that I have. I have skills. Here are my skills. But so this is kind of what I want to be in music, but also in life too. Like I'm saying, like in my classes as a tutor, right? Being like, hey, just so you know, like I must have been really, really odd in the accounting lab, the computer lab, and then me being all loud, like being like super excited to teach people about supply and demand and whatever. Like I can only imagine what they were expecting when they went to economics tutoring and then found me there. Like, but that's the point. That's what I'm saying. It's being like, yeah, I do theater. I'm a theater kid, kind of. That's generous, but I'm a theatrical person, and here I am tutoring you in economics because get you somebody who can do both a little bit, like kind of, but like that's the thing to like be because I don't think it's that crazy too. To like, I again, like, why hasn't anybody done this yet? What is nobody doing that they should be doing in nerdcore?
Yeah.
Taking their nerdiness and their intellect and holding it over people's heads and being like, I'm smarter than you, therefore I'm a better rapper than you. End of discussion, right? Like, it's not even like a jokey, self-deprecating thing. It's like, look, I came to play, and I hope I can model that, not to be the stereotypical nerd that is super focused on one subject and whatever. It's like I try to be multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and have that be the thing I promote. If rap is going to be used to promote, and there's a whole stupid, well, not stupid, but like the moral conversation of materialism and all the values that hip hop is promoting nowadays, but like, okay, fine, that's the what, hip hop is the how. Fine, what can I use in this how? Curiosity, intellect, awareness, like self-discovery, self-actualization, maybe, if we're gonna want to get super heady about it. But yeah, like, I want to be that person, like that kind of a teacher, which is, I mean, I hope that puts the syllabus in a little bit of a different context. It's not just a joke. It's like, I kind of got something here, and like, if I can, I don't want to like, it's like a dance that I go back and forth between of like, is everything that I'm saying here worth saying? I mean, I hope so if you're listening to it, like, you know, like, I hope that everything I'm saying here makes sense, but it's also just like, who, at the same time, who am I to say that I can teach anybody anything? Which is just galactic intellectual humility. It's just like, big, who am I to know anything at all? I mean, right? Like, that's the core of like scientific, philosophical kind of thinking, where it's like, before you even start to make any sort of progress, you got to be like, hold on, just so you know, you got to get humbled and be like, I don't know anything. Something Socrates, like, I know what I not know. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
But then, so that like, I have my reservations because of that principle that I live by. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, if we're talking wordsmanship and innovative mindset, where I'm like, I didn't just rap for 10 years just to rap, right? I'm like, I wanted to do something different from the jump. Like, I wanted to do something nobody had ever done before from the beginning. I mean, in middle school, when I first started rapping, I was like, I want to be different. I don't want to be good. I don't want to be famous. I want to be different.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's such a destitute value nowadays. And if I can model anything, it's that being different, and this is not new at all, but, well, being different is good, obviously. So many people have made that argument. It's like, being different doesn't mean you can't make rap music. Hey, yeah. But it's also like, being different and being a weirdo and being cool are not mutually exclusive. And cool is its own thing to unpack. But you have your cool teachers, right? Where it's like, that teacher's really cool and they're relatable, something like that, in really like vague way. And some teachers like, and then some people are unfortunately cool teachers, but then you get the test results back, and it's like, oh, those grades aren't very cool, are they? But there are teachers that can thread that needle and be like, not only are they cool and relatable and funny and personable and nice and warm, but they're also good at what they do. And I'm just like, if I can try to be anything, I would want it to be that. To be like, hey, just so you know, I can be relatable. I can be a nerdcore artist and not have that be super cringe. What did I say?
It's from the Pfizer line, wasn't it?
Yeah, okay. I was like, see where I'm going with this, that line that I said?
Yeah. Because you make people sick. Suddenly I make nerdcore that isn't cringe, and this is the thanks that I
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my god. When it comes to the lines, I don't just have them ready, right? Because there's so many to have. So like, oh my god, that's incredible. Like,
It's
you
all
know where I
good,
was going
dude.
with that. Yeah, but literally, like, bro, like, come on. Like, nowadays, like, I still connect with like nerdcore artists a little bit. The few that I have, like, I've gone. Oh well, I don't want to like air her out here. Oh, it's too late. I already got it. But like Lex the Lexicon artist, you aware of her, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, she's out here doing her thing. I have so much respect for her, especially for her being as in tight with the old guard, as it were.
I think she's evolving incredibly quickly too.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Like, but again, even her, not to disrespect her or anything, but I'm just like, to have that kind of universal appeal. That's what I'm hoping for. Like, if I end up like a really niche nerdcore person just based off personality, like I'm just a weirdo and have that nerdy, stereotypical nerd kind of persona, then maybe, I don't know, it depends on how people interpret me, but I hope that I can present myself as like, yeah, I can talk this wordily, but at the same time, I can, be all the things that a nerd shouldn't be. You don't normally think, right?
Yeah.
So, and that means aggressive. That means competitive and being willing to play. So instead of a teacher being relatable and being like, I know about all the new TikTok dances or whatever, like joining it like in that kind of way, like that relatability, like, oh my god, this teacher's so cool. Maybe that has potential for cringe, but like instead of trying to reach people in that way, to do it in hip hop, it's like you gotta come with it, right? And like I don't see outside of MC Frontalot really anybody who's really like if you put him in a battle, like a real battle, like I've seen like battle rap where it's just one rapper versus another, no beat, talk, just bars, that's it. It's like, can you imagine any nerdcore person going up against like a seasoned battle, well, maybe not seasoned, but like even like an amateur battle rapper who like that's their thing, that's their bag, right? Can you imagine what it would look like if an amateur battle rapper and the best nerdcore artist stepped in the ring together? It's like, it's no contest still. And I want to step in and be like, and I want to wreck. And it's like, that's how you relate. You prove your worth and you say, I didn't come to mess around. I didn't come here to make friends, right? It's like, like the nerdcore is really great. It's warm because it's about everybody being friends together. It's about outsiders coming together and forming their own inside around this campfire of nerdcore hip hop. Awesome. But I didn't come to play street ball. I came to play in the NBA. And I hope that means something when it comes to music, but even outside, just to be like, I hope you get a sense of like, if you were to meet me at my college or whatever in person and you saw me work, like, this isn't like a nerdy person doing like, this is somebody who gets something done. Like I don't know what you normally think of when you think of nerdcore, but I don't think it's that. Like somebody who just like is forthright with what they want to do. And like, so I hope you see what I'm saying here. Like teachers, the way to be a relatable, cool teacher is kind of to just relate with kids. But nowadays, because there's a lot to say about youth culture now, but I think part of it is that aggression and that competition, like being aware of what the standards are, what the rules are now. And that's the thing. Like so many nerdcore artists, nearly all of them, probably all of them, pretty much, play by their own developed sense of rules, the list of rules, right? And they're just over here winning every time because the rules allow them to do that because they wrote them. So, because if they stepped out and played by hip hop rule, they would get demolished. But here I am trying to do both, being like, okay, fine. The world of hip hop nowadays is tough, but I'm tougher. I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna play and I'm gonna get my props. And after I do that, I'm gonna get my word in. Once I get my foot in the door, that's how these nerdy somethings can spread. Just to like. And again, I hope you see that, like, this sounds like some big fancy plan, but at the same time, it's just, this is the kind of person that I am. I would be doing this anyway. If I weren't calling it out and saying it's some big fancy something. It's like, this is just, I like nerdcore hip hop, and I like hip hop just in general, and I like music. And I was in a musical in high school, but I was also in ROTC for 3 years. And, like, that's going to just spread everything all over the place. So I hope it just sounds that way. That if there's anything I can be, it's that kind of person where the life I lived has just led me to what would seem like chaos because I've just pinballed, ricocheted all over the place in terms of who I am and what I should do and all. But like, it seems like it shouldn't work, shouldn't it? Ultra seems like it shouldn't work, shouldn't it? But here I am, and if I can do it, dot dot dot. I don't know what you asked, but again, like, um, yeah. Like that's the importance of teaching somebody something, I guess.
Yeah.
Being like, this is how you teach somebody nowadays. If you're not a teacher, an older person, like, if I can teach something, it's that. It's teaching people my age that you don't have to act your age, I guess. You can be way younger in terms of delight and wonderment, but way older in terms of wisdom and willingness to explore. So, yeah, I don't know if that's obvious in Ultra, but I want to, like, that's a long-term vision for Ultra. Like, if I get in front, again, aside from the music, just I want to do this as a person, right? Like, not Mr. Master or anything. It's just like, this is me as a person being like, curiosity is important. Obviously, if Magic School Bus isn't going to just make you, like, for some people, it's just going to magic school you into a curious individual, but sometimes it's not. Children's programming just doesn't do that all the time. Maybe it takes somebody who's a little more rebellious and a little more something like that, right? A little different, right? Just a different way of, like, it's the same idea. Like, there's another thing too. Like, Ultra is meant to be, like, principally, in terms of principles, Ultra is kind of educational music, which groups it in together with children's music, sonically based on the stuff that I sample, but just in terms of Sesame Street, like, it sounds like Sesame Street the samples, but also I hope it sounds like Sesame Street just in terms of what I'm doing, like teaching, like it's teaching stuff. And again, I don't know if it's obvious, but that's where I hope to make that more and more obvious. So maybe if Zubumafu didn't make you want to learn about evolutionary biology like that, maybe I can put it in Ultra and then it'll be interesting, right? Because it is, right? It's like, literally, how many times, like, or like the teacher thing where it's like, I never would have known that I liked physics if I didn't run into this teacher I had, and then it's just like, oh my god, that's what they showed me. Not that physics is easy to understand, but that physics is a thing you can devote your entire life to. The physics that I can devote my entire life to. That's like really fundamental foundational teaching, and I hope I can do that. Not for a specific field, but for intellectualism in general.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, man. When I say that, like, a teacher for me being super influential, I mean, like, there's still a professor from college that I had sophomore year. He was a history professor. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if I've told you this before. I was an art major, so like history, you know, farthest from what I didn't really care or whatever. But he showed his passion. He kind of poured out his heart, and I think that's important for teaching anybody. It doesn't really matter the subject if you can show why you enjoy it, and you can make it. If you can share why you enjoy something with somebody else, and I don't know, not stomp all over their views at the same time, you know, it's people are going to listen a lot easier.
Yeah. Are you a history major?
No, dude. I do graphic design for a board game company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you changed your whole life, and now I'm a history major.
Hence my shelf over here.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are you teaching? Oh, I might have issues with my connection. Let me see, but can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I can hear you all right.
Okay, you're kind of breaking up. We'll see what happens, but
no worries. Oh, we might have. You're back. You're back. Okay, you froze for like a second.
I'm good.
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you're good now. All right. Yeah, I think we're good.
Must have just been a spike. It's all good. So I guess the last kind of big question I have is, when you're not doing Ultraman, what else are you doing?
Oh, you're breaking up. What was it?
uh, when you're not doing when you're not creating music, what else? What other hobbies do you have that are taking up your time?
I mean, this is the thing that I was saying, right? Like, I kind of am always doing music. That's how I've set up my life a little
Sure.
bit, so that I'm never not working on Ultra. But even then, honestly, like, I don't do too much else. Like, I consume a lot of media. I mean, especially recently, it's kind of just been filling my time with long form content. And I mean, lately, like I'm saying, part of it has been filling my time with those conversations. If I can find more conversations with people like that,
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
like then that's what I would want to fill my time with. One-on-one, really break stuff down with people type of something where we just sit and talk for hours, like long form content, right? Like if I'm not creating, I've become. I mean, it's about chasing flow states when it comes to conversations like this, because when I'm writing, it's a flow state. I don't know if you know like flow states like that. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Not entirely, but
Okay, well, basically, it's something worth really looking into. It's basically peak experience, I guess, where um, time flies. Basically,
mhm.
it's a name for that state where you're super locked into something, and it's just you're gone, right? And time flies like nothing. Um, Examples have been like jazz musicians in a jam session,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
they just locked in, and it's like the
Kind
only thing you care about is making the music and with somebody else. Um,
of getting lost in it almost.
oh, you're still breaking up, I swear.
Sorry, you're kind of getting lost in what you're doing. I'm saying is where you're kind of
Am
losing
I?
the. Hmm?
Am I?
No, no, no. I'm saying like that's kind of what you're describing is just kind of getting lost in what you're doing.
Oh, am I sounding fine though? Because
Yeah,
like you're
you're
not.
sounding fine. You're sounding great.
Okay, sure. But yeah, like even aside from the idea that I'm, because literally like now it's just like I'm teaching myself stuff because I want to write about it, kind of.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like conversations are just really fun. Like especially like before the pandemic was going on, that's what like I really started to chase. That became the focus for the past like couple, well, for the past like year and a half for me. Definitely the past year or so, where I just want to. When I was in person with my in class on campus and all this, I tried to just because I normally didn't do that. That wasn't me for a long time. Like if I can, like I was introverted and I
Hmm.
didn't talk to people like that. But once I honestly started thinking about the effect social media has had on communication, interpersonal communication,
Hmm.
face-to-face conversation, and it spooked me so much that I was just like, I need to do something. Oh no, like the world is falling apart thanks to social media. I need to start talking to people. That was literally the motivation. But then it turned into, oh, sharing experiences with people is just nice
Yeah.
and soul it's enriching, I guess. And it just was fun. And you get into a flow state when you get in a really good conversation with somebody. You go back and forth, and you just you lose track of time, like I did this whole time, where you're just talking, going back and forth, and just having a real resonance and a sense of momentum, a building thing throughout the conversation. It's a really specific thing because obviously you could talk to somebody for hours, just small talk or something, and it's not really compelling. But then you talk to somebody who's just really like on it, and time just flies. And it's like, fortunately, I've ended up with a fan base not small enough to for me to be able to reach out to people and be like, hey, because what I did on Instagram was literally just post on my story. Because a couple people hit me up just out of the blue, being like, hey, can we talk? And I'm just like, oh, huh, weird. Sure, yeah, okay. And then we talk, and then now there are people like that who I've been talking to for like a year now, over a year, just off of let's talk. And then we kept talking, and then it built and built, and we learned from each other and everything. So I posted on Instagram after those first couple of times, just being like, "Hey, does anybody want to talk?" and I got like 10, 12 people who hit me up, and just some people I only talked to once, which was great. Other people I've had a couple conversations with, and it's built and whatnot. And again, also just the idea of what I was talking about earlier of like not being of getting away with that starstruckness with me or whatever, like that whole thing. But also just being able to be like, because I'm saying like I like me being me on this end of the project. It really is so meaningful to hear from people who like what they think of the project, because I've been talking to people who have been listening to it, I think just as long as you have actually, if not like nearly as long. And I'm just like, that's where that happens. That's magic to me. That's where, of course, it has gotten pretty far just off of me teaching myself stuff and letting stuff spit out of my subconscious or whatever. But now that I like, that's what I'm chasing now, to be like, okay, it's been long enough. It's been 10 years. Maybe now I can let some people in and bounce ideas off people now that there's this big body of work that people can look at and say and have their own interpretation of. Because I obviously have my own interpretation of the big stuff, but if somebody like you really goes in depth with it and then we can talk about it, that's the thing. So like in the future, I want to keep doing that. Like I want, that is a hobby that I want to have in the future. And then I kind of had in just inconsistently, but like regularly enough, like every couple days, maybe like just, it's kind of random, but like whenever anybody else's schedules, when schedules line up, you know, that's something that I've gotten a lot of joy out of recently, whenever I can get that to happen. Other than that though, it's just been like, it's literally like, okay, oh yeah, stupid. I got into basketball to get away from all this stuff. Yeah. Again, like, what's something that I would never have ever been interested in before? It's like, last year I got super into basketball, and thanks to my dad mainly. And yeah. I mean the NBA. Like when I first got home, right? I moved back home, and I was kind of like unsure what to do. And when I came back home, what was, I think, fall of 2018, maybe? It was the start of LeBron James' first season as a Laker. And I was like, I know who the Lakers are. I know who LeBron James is. Isn't he famous? Like, that was all I knew about him. I was just like, okay, maybe there's something worth watching. I don't know what else to do. So I watched the whole season, and yeah, I just became a super fan, and I'm obsessed with it now a little bit. Literally. And so like I'm over here like, again, like I hope I can again model this whole thing of like, I'm not just into weirdo documentaries and Mystery Science Theater or something, right? That kind of humor and learning. It's like, yeah, like I can hold my own in a conversation about basketball. I posted about this like a couple days ago. I went to Subway, right? And I was talking to the person who was making a sandwich, and just he was like, hey, you've been watching sports lately? I'd be like, yeah, I've been watching basketball. And we had a full-on conversation about basketball. And I literally just paused, like I stopped myself. I caught myself in the middle of it while we were talking. I was like, me from 3 years ago would have like never been able to have a conversation like this. And like here I am, like just like this. So like, and probably, yeah, I think already if you look at the more recent Ultra songs, basketball is getting in there. Like sports are getting in there, right? And so yeah, and so like I got a basketball and stuff too. We got a hoop in the back, so like that's nice, right? And like biking occasionally, very that's being very generous to say that I bike. I tried to bike like some time ago, but I didn't. But like outside, yeah, that's physical stuff. But definitely basketball. Like I'm gonna be completely honest with you right now. Like the Blazers are playing the Lakers right now. Yeah. In the playoffs. You know this?
I'm not a basketball person. That's the
okay.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But...
Yeah. Well, like the playoffs are going on right now, and a very consequential game is going on right now that I chose to not watch.
I'm sorry.
Because I wanted to spend time with you. No, I thought about it. I was like, maybe we should reschedule, and then I was like, this is stupid. Like for a basketball game, like why would I reschedule? Like So I'm just like, yeah, like come on, like I'm here for a reason, but like yeah. But see, even then, like I'm kind of watching basketball because it is cathartic and it is a kind of mind shutty offy type of thing.
Oh yeah.
That is my kind of passive thing, where I'm not saying active participation in everything is like great, right? It's everything in moderation.
Yeah.
And sometimes I burn out a little bit, and I'm like, I can't just listen to two intellectuals talk on a podcast forever and ever and ever. I can do it for a while, but even then, it's kind of like I might need a break. And
Yeah.
basketball is a really nice. See, that's my thing for basketball. Like, yeah, I mean, I could do the whole. It's just who cares about men in shorts throwing a ball through a hoop type thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's also just like, see, what I got from basketball was like, obviously, it's more than that. It's a
Yeah.
story. It's a movie. It's movies. It's a decades long movie. I mean, every game that the Lakers play is a song in the Lakers Ultra, let's say. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Where it's like the same story of like, and the players change, right? And it's just like, but there are people who've been fans for the. My dad has been a fan for the Lakers for decades, and he saw like I can't just name the names, but he saw the whole era of Shaq and Kobe happen, and just like that's not basketball. That's like who they are, and like it's so much more than that. And like that's not even getting into the technical technique, how you play, the rules, like what is the movement, the hours they put in, the smarts these guys have.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's a whole like they talk about basketball IQ a lot, like of how to play, like, right? So it's like it's again, so me being curious innately, here's a field that I know nothing about that some people know a whole lot about, so much about, years and years worth of stuff to dive into. And if I stumble across a field like that intrigues me, then I'm just gonna go straight into it, and it's worked. But so again, even that has kind of turned into an ultra something. Like it becomes ultra. There's a lot to say about like what ultra means, even like when I say it like that.
Yeah.
Like what is ultra, what makes something ultra, something like that. That's kind of whatever. But like I'm mentioning it now because ultra, the project, reflects me as a person, what I'm going through, what I'm thinking. And lately I've been thinking a lot about basketball, so it's in there. But so it is kind of, I'm watching it a little bit because I want to write something about it. Little bit, right? Like whenever like I'm, like I said, when I'm in class, I'm paying attention not because I want to learn. Well, partly because I want to learn and partly because I want to write about it. Same thing with basketball, but so much further in the back. It's kind of just like, it's nice. It's fast paced, and it's a really like, after talking about philosophy and politics and the world and the collapse of all these economic systems and whatever, and I'm just like, you know what? I just want to see somebody throw a ball in a hoop.
Yeah.
Like, and it's nice. It really is nice. It's like it's relaxing and it's simple. Like like it's entertaining in a really visceral way. So like I've gotten really into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, like even that's like it. Like other than that, it's like I'm watching documentaries because I want to write stuff about Ultra. Writing takes a while. Like just me trying to come up with the songs like the lyrics. Like like I said, I'm staring at the ceiling and it's like hours go by. Again, achieving this flow state where time just flies by.
Yeah.
It takes up a lot of my time. So if I'm not doing that, I'm kind of just doing all that though. But the main thing I'm doing is kind of Ultra, like pretty much all the time.
All the time, yeah.
A little bit, like.
My wife's saying that she doesn't watch basketball because the squeaky shoes get to her. And that's a very true statement. That is something that I've learned.
Point taken. Oh no, I can't watch basketball ever again now.
Right. I do have something. So, as somebody who is interested in learning, I'm wondering. There's a sport that I discovered 3 years ago because we were stuck due to a snowstorm on Thanksgiving. This showed up on ESPN2 during Thanksgiving. It's have you ever heard of Australian rules football?
No.
No? Okay. So this is a game that is incredibly old. Like it's about, I think, as old as cricket. It's insane. It's fast. It's played on a field it's like 2 football fields long. No pads. Plays a little bit like rugby. It's got a ball like a football or like a rugby ball. And if you run with the ball for more than like 15 feet, no more than that. I think it's like 6 meters. You actually have to bounce the ball while you're running along.
You have to dribble it?
Yes. It's frenetic and it's super fun to watch. There's I think like 18 teams in Australia, and then there's actually a whole USA league that plays as well. It's an incredible sport to watch if you ever get the chance. They just go by AFL for most of the stuff, but it's an incredible sport. I tell anybody who I can about it because it's, man, I got bored with regular like American football, and
Right.
this scratches a huge itch because it's a bit like rugby, football, like American football, and soccer kind of all had a baby together.
Oh god.
It's so fun.
I'm so excited to look at what this is. Like you literally said, the field is 2 football fields long, and I was just like, wait,
Yeah.
Really? really?
Yeah, there's a
That's
video.
so. What? Is this? I'm looking at a circular field right now.
Yep. Yep.
Wow, this is gladiatorial.
It's amazing.
Oh man. New obsession incoming.
It's a fun sport to watch, and ESPN or no, CBS Sports has been playing it lately late, so we have to record it to watch
Late.
it. But you can
Like
find
the middle of the night
yeah, like
when
like
nobody's watching.
2-3 a.m. But we record
It seems like that kind of.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I find it more fun than American football to watch.
I like it already. Shoot.
Yeah, and it's a game that's been around for tons, many years. It's cool to watch. And Nikki says she likes that there's 3 goals like Quidditch.
It's all the sports.
Speaking of Quidditch, there's one other artist I need you to check out at some point if you haven't.
Every product. J.K. Rowling. Is that what you wanted to?
No. There's a guy who's in the Twin Cities. He's in Minneapolis. Goes by Nerdy.
Ner.
Dash D.
N-E-R.
NUR-D.
Nerdy.
Yeah. He kind of came on the scene. Well, he was doing stuff for the last like 2 years, but he toured with Brother Ali for a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah. But he's a local guy that's making waves around here.
Ooh. Is he nerdcore?
He is nerdcore.
Hey, does he put it on like that?
He's fucking fantastic.
Was he arrested?
Once, yes.
Oh,
Because we had the
certified.
riots and the protests here from George Floyd,
Huh.
and it was him and his DJ were running the medical tent, and they got arrested.
Oh, yo.
Yeah.
Dang. Oh, man. Respect. Dang.
He's a good dude, man. But
You know?
I've met him like once or twice, but don't know him super well. He responds a lot on anything you message him on. But
I always appreciate hearing, like, discovering new stuff. Like, I mean, obviously, like, it goes without saying, like, learning and whatnot. But yeah, I love being put on to new artists. And, like, I could just do it, like, a lot, too, if I could. Like, it's all on that playlist I talked about. But yeah, I'm always into discovering new stuff.
oh yeah. I brought up that because of the Harry Potter reference, because he's got a song called Black Wizard Wave, in which the chorus of it is Levio Levio Leviosa, which is fantastic. But anyway.
True?
Yes.
See, this is the thing. Like, to speak on nerdcore a little bit, right? To again critique the thing that I really love. Like, even a song like, because in my head, Breakfast Machine is the Pee Wee Herman song.
Yeah.
Dance of the Hours is the Spike Jones song, pretty much. Camp Granada is the Camp Granada song. But even then, it's like, I, if you look at it lyrically, right, it's like I'm not rapping about Pee Wee Herman. I don't mention Pee Wee Herman on Breakfast Machine, right?
One
I don't
time.
think. Do I? Oh yeah. But like
Yeah.
one time, right? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the Pee Wee Herman song. It's not. This is a Pee Wee Herman song. It's like I mentioned Pee Wee Herman. I sample Pee Wee Herman, and
Reference
the thing
Kimmy,
too, no-
Kimmy Schmidt.
yeah, and like that's not. Which, by the way, I have a lot to say about Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and the way that show is a great and how it influenced me. But like, I don't have any song that's like a Harry Potter song. Definitely not like a Wizard Rock type of. Is that the name for it? Whatever, like that kind of thing, where it's like it is only this subject, right? That's
Exactly.
like some real fan situations,
Yeah.
and that's cool. But I'm like, I want to create my own thing, right? It's like
Mhm.
I don't want to like say how much I love Harry Potter. I want to be J.K. Rowling and do
Yeah.
what she did with that. And in order to do that, it can't be like. I mean, this is what I mean when I say no fan shit on cartoon violence. Like
Mhm.
being like, that's a fan song. That is a fan fictional rap song.
Yeah.
Like I haven't even heard it, but like stuff like that, where it's like Tolkien stuff, Star Wars stuff.
I will say that
Right?
is just the chorus. The rest of that song is
yeah,
basically
yeah,
not
of course.
about that. Yeah.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean to like take down the artist or the song or anything, but just using this as like a jumping off point into something else with their part.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like you have the people who are just they rap about Tolkien and they just rap about this and this and this and that's it, right? It's like even Lars, it's like he has literary stuff and he does other stuff, but it's like these are the main things, and it's just like even then though,
Yeah.
like because if you listen to
Sorry, I was gonna say I do appreciate that he does it like usually for an album and then he switches. Like,
yeah.
He can pivot. Like he does
right.
plenty of stuff, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't call him out. Sorry, but like.
No. That's who I originally thought of when you brought that up too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, where you just put yourself in a box, and it's cool, but like for a song, but I feel like that's when it gets really novelty and jokey, right? And like I have a whole thing about novelty.
I was gonna
obviously.
say if somebody's gonna speak on
Yeah.
novelty, it might be you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing where it's just this isn't. Nobody talks about how good of a song Witch Doctor is as music, like musically, right? It's just like they know who you are, like that's like a funny little chorus, and that's what the song is associated with. Like Camp Granada has a really earwormy melody,
Mhm.
and it's about a kid who goes to camp. It's not like a love song or something like relatable. It's like it tells a really interesting like story, and it's like I think it's like why do people like this song? Do people like Camp Granada because it's a good song or because it's a funny song? Like, right?
Or because
Like-
it's a catchy song.
You could order that, but I feel like just if we're just going off of because he didn't compose it, right? He didn't like even that. If you can't really attribute that to Alan Sherman even, but like, do people like Harry Potter rap songs because they like rap songs or because they like Harry Potter? Like, right? And I'm just like I'm trying to make something that is more you like it because it's a rap song more than anything, rather than I'm such a good rapper for all the nerdcore rappers. It's like, no, I'm a rapper, right? Like that's so that's the thing as well. To not
I see it slightly differently
Yeah, go ahead.
in the fact that I think you can appreciate it for being a rap song, but then also get just like that extra little nugget out of it because it's something that you're interested in.
Right.
Like it's you can always appreciate like the structure of a song or like the beat that you're putting in it or the writing that you're putting in it, but I think just liking that initially, because a song can't just be strictly, well, it can be, but it shouldn't be strictly about like this is, well, okay, I say that this has happened before. Megaran did a whole album on Stranger Things on each of the kids, but usually songs aren't just strictly about that one thing. I mean, you're not gonna see a Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone specific song. But I mean, having a song that has those references in it kind of, I don't know, it kind of makes you feel like you're part of like a secret club, I think, you know? Yeah. So I think you need to be able to appreciate it as music, not just as a reference machine.
Yes. Like, I feel like that's the minority, though, is the thing. Like, I totally get you. I just worry that that's not what people mainly do it for, I guess. Like, if you really pay attention to music and all that, yeah, of course. But if you only like listen to Harry Potter and super obsessed with Harry Potter and don't listen to rap music like that, like you're just gonna like it because it's like it has stuff in it. So like yeah, like I'm sure like me and you both we're actually in the same page when it comes to that. But even then, what I worry about is that again, it kind of goes back to the point I was making earlier that not only is it that the listeners are super into Harry Potter and not into rap music, the artists are too. That's what I worry about too. Where it's like if you do actually put it under the microscope, the magnifying glass of are these good to if you hold them against traditional hip hop standards, witty lyricism, bars, rhymes, all that flow and blah, it's like it doesn't hold up. And yeah, so that's all. Yeah, I get you though. Like I just feel like people who actually know how to walk that line are really rare. So rare that I kind of stopped looking for people to do it and try to focus on doing it myself, I guess.
Yeah. I will say one other positive is if you do go in liking a specific thing and then find the rap, eventually, hopefully, you'll expand your horizons and find other forms of rap that you like beyond that.
Yes.
And this is 100% me, because until I started dating my wife, I didn't know what nerdcore was, and I had not listened to rap.
Oh, thank you.
So she was my main influence, starting with MC Chris, MC Lars, and Mega Ran. That was actually my first show in Chicago many, many years ago.
First show you went to?
Yeah.
Ever?
For like a nerdcore show, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I branched out from there and I've learned a ton. But they were a good jumping off point for me, you know.
Into where?
Into hip hop. I had not generally listened to hip hop before that. I'm talking like, okay, we've been together. I'm not going to get this wrong. we're going on 9 years, okay? So this was a while ago. But, like, this is going to sound weird. So, okay, I grew up as, like, somebody who listened to a lot of ska, a lot of punk, and a lot of heavy-ish metal, but not, like, super far into, like, death or black metal, you know, that kind of thing. But, I mean, she changed my outlook on music, really. And I think starting where it was easy for me to jump in made it easier for me to jump other places and appreciate things that had either already happened or, you know, were to come. So things like I discovered Outkast really fucking late.
Oh, wow.
And Outkast is incredible. Like,
yes.
At least in my opinion, I think a lot of people's opinions.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, I started with nerdcore, and then I went back, and I was like, okay, I'm going to start from the beginning with Outkast, start from the really early stuff, and like keep going. And to this day, it's not Speakerboxxx Love Below, it's not Stankonia. Aquemini is still my favorite album from from Outkast, man. That's the shit.
There we go.
I wouldn't have gotten there without starting where I did in nerdcore.
Yeah. Yes. You are a nerdcore success story.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think that happens for more people than you think.
Okay, yeah. I just am more, I guess I'm a little more pessimistic. Like, I would rather focus on that being a problem that isn't solved enough yet. When it comes to a lot of things. I mean, obviously, like, I'm trying to see what's missing here at the risk of seeing what is already there and not what is not needing of change, right? Like, if that's going great, awesome. Go be great over there. Like, I'm just gonna focus on the thing that needs to be. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't really consider that. Like, because I hope you see, like, I'm really focusing on like what is missing here, and then I'm staring at the like problem, hoping for it to be solved. So much so that I don't really know what's going on. Yeah. Like I say, like all I'm doing is ultra and stuff. So it's like, yeah, that's my idea of like nerdcore, is it like why it didn't take off like that. But that's
Mhm.
me in my own little vacuum coming up with a story. So to hear this is also why I appreciate conversations like this, whether it's you or like anybody else about it, to be like, oh right, the world is bigger than my own head.
This,
The world
this
is
is
bigger
very
than
true.
Ultra, isn't it?
Dude,
Um,
board games are my life. Like 9 to 5 every day. Like I often forget people don't know the shit that I work on, you know?
oh man.
So it's a similar situation.
Yeah. So I hope you get that. Yeah. Just in terms of like a lifestyle and perception of that, it's like, bro, like, can you imagine how long I've been? Like 10 years. Like when I started making rap, like I couldn't talk to anybody about what I was doing when I was 14, 15. Like the whole time too. Like when I got to Northridge, I had my friends that I could talk to about hip hop music, and I love them like
Mhm.
to death. But even then, it was like I couldn't really talk about this big. I could never talk to anybody about nerdcore until kind of now, like
Yeah.
until kind of this, like and somebody who like I could meet at somebody like at the same like kind of level, I guess, when it comes to like seeing what might not be going, how nerdcore could be improved, right?
Yeah.
How you could make a new nerdcore, I guess, like so. Um, so yeah, like it's weird to have like this big thing that you're sitting on and working on and obsessing over, and not being able to just talk to anybody who will understand it. I mean, that's the plight of like being a super big nerd into anything,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
especially if it's me being a nerd in something that I made, where it's like literally only me who could get it at this
Mm.
level, maybe. But which is also why I jump to have conversations like this, not at all, well, not primarily as an ego strokey way. Like I'm not gonna lie, like I worked really hard on something, and if somebody says, "Hey, I really like what you did. Can you
Yeah.
tell me more about it?" I'm just like, "Thank you. Yes, I have like years of things to tell you about." But other than that, it is a kind of like, so it is partly that. It literally just is partly that emotional thing of like, I'm sure like if somebody came up to you and started talking about all that, it would be like a, oh, right. It's like, there we go. Right. But
Hmm.
um, yeah. So there's a little bit of that in it, like this, that inherent nerdiness of nobody gets it. Like, and this is the double-edged sword that I've been wrestling with for as long as I've been dealing with Ultra, and it's only gotten sharper the
Yeah.
longer that I've worked with it. Nobody gets it, and that's affirming. That's like, that tells me that what I'm doing is right, right?
Hmm.
It eventually, like at some point, it flipped and was like, okay, if somebody tells me that they like my music, awesome. If somebody tells me they don't like my music, even better. It means you didn't get it. Like, so it just any response I got from it was just like saying you don't like it made it even better for me. But
Yeah.
even then, it's like
Well, then I'm
the
sorry I
long.
liked it.
No, I mean like no. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I got it. I got you.
yeah, but it's like it is the kind of, but that's the thing too. It's like it's tough because I wish I could do that sometimes. I mean, you see, like I've been a couple steps removed from people who took off in the music scene and they're making moves, and it's hard not to see that and be like, I wish I could do that because I could. You know what I mean? I know my skill set. I know what I can do. I know I can make a song. I know I can write a good song. But because I'm not using these skills to play the music industry game,
Hmm.
I I'm setting myself up for failure. And I've talked about this a couple times on record, kind of jokingly, how I'm kind of digging my own grave here of like being really good and working really hard at something that is made not to be understood,
Yeah.
but it's but it makes it so that the people who do care, I can speak to like this.
Hmm.
It's like if I made this huge relatable something, then I would have 100,000 people, and they would all have their own little version of me in their head, and I would have takedowns of like clapbacks from like all these people who think they know this like image of the way. And I'm just here like, you know what? Like, I don't want that. That's not my idea of success. My idea of success is making this big puzzle for people to maybe solve if they want. And the more that you attempt to solve it, the more that you solve other things in your life, maybe I don't know, but like something like that where it's not going to be for everybody, but the people who do get it, and this is like, again, this is nerdiness and nerd fandom, just across the board. Like, a lot of people don't know about this, but and like I could be a gatekeeper here and be like, even things like Harry Potter and Star Wars and Marvel and even maybe Lord of the Rings stuff. It's like that's kind of too big already. It's like that's kind of mainstream stuff, especially Marvel, right? Comic book stuff. It's like comic book, like that's a whole conversation to be had. But like with the really niche stuff, it's like it's the same kind of thing. And I don't see anybody maybe like I can't. Nobody comes to mind who is trying to do that now. It feels such like a relic of the past of somebody like is there anybody who's trying to make something like Mystery Science Theater 3000 right now, where it's super niche and super not anybody's getting. If you know, please tell me. But like something like that, where it's like from the jump, they're like, we want to be weird and we want people to not get this, and we don't want to be famous. We don't want this to sell. It's made for this kind of following. So many artists' careers nowadays, and I mean businesses too. It's like built on the model of we need customers, we need sales, we need plays, we need views.
Yeah.
And if that's the way you're measuring success, awesome. But if I were to choose the measures of success to be qualitative change in somebody's life at an individual level, that is just the complete opposite of anybody. That is literally the exact opposite of the quantitative, measurable statistics that people chase nowadays.
Yeah.
So, and it's tough because the ocean of the internet is so vast that there probably are people around who are thinking in this more localized state of mind when it comes to the kind of following they want their work to have, but everybody's so spread out versus the internet like 10 years ago. I'm sure you're aware of this. It's like it was smaller. You could find stuff way easier.
Yeah.
It was its own niche at some point. It was its own little niche, like the people who had the internet and could use it like that and understood how to use forums and stuff like that. But now because the internet is the mall or something where everybody can just go in and do whatever they want, it's hard to find that little person. Like, this kind of thing does not land for people, especially when the game is so not being played like this. So, it gets lonely, honestly, to be like, and that sounds kind of like, I hope it doesn't come off as like a value type of something, but like just is there anybody trying for this? Because in the SoundCloud scene, obviously, like me being on SoundCloud, right? It's like the SoundCloud rap scene, it's pretty much only this, from as far as I can see. My limited little echo chamber bubble of what I can see, it's just people who are chasing stats. Which is tough.
It's disappointing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you could just break that disappointment down in so many different ways, but the way I want to choose to remedy that is by being the opposite of that and being like, I do not care about numbers, right? Like, the only number I care about is the number of songs on Ultra. Other than that, it's like plays, whatever. It's anything like everything else is secondary. But if I try and zoom it out, like, that's what I hope people can get out of me, to be like, hey, just so you know, you don't have to care about all that. Like, because the conversations that I'm having, that I've been having the past couple of months, it's been with kids who like 16, 17, 18, they just got out of high school, you know what I mean? So it hasn't been, the dynamics of the conversations have been kind of lopsided to me, just because I feel me being 24 more in a listen to me, you little kids kind of like thing, right? It's like, I think I have information to provide if you just got out of high school and like I did my whole little time and this is what you can, right? So I hope that that's what it can be. Because like, again, with this, everything being so saturated now with stat chasing and the gamification of music making and marketing, it's really difficult. You have to dig and dig and dig to find people who are not talking about that. And I hope I can be a kind of person who isn't talking like that, and not just be somebody who isn't talking like that, but someone who promotes and facilitates and encourages digging.
Yeah.
I kind of don't see anybody doing that really, as much as I'm focused on it. To be like curiosity to be the main goal, and not even curiosity in an in and of itself, though that's very important, but curiosity in order to achieve, let's say, self-actualization or grasp of one's own identity, which is kind of curiosity for curiosity's own sake. But once you get that down, it's like, oh, now you can be curious about who you are and what problems arise in the workplace or what is going on in this relationship you're having. You know what I mean? It's like Ultra has become so much about meta skills and getting very, very to the root of things of like, what can I do that talks about everything all at once, so I don't have to just talk about nerdcore or this or this or that or whatever. So I'm like, communication, neurology is kind of seeping its way into Ultra a little bit. Like as time goes on, I hope these things become like, right? So you see the evolution. It goes from nerdy, funny references to neurology and psychology and philosophy and stuff like that, like, and communicative skills and whatnot. Like, so yeah. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going here, but like, I hope
It's
you
all good, dude. No worries.
get what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. I still think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I still think you should go on tour with somebody once.
I want, yeah. It's funny, yeah. So again, like, when it comes to the measure of success, I remember for part of why I feel weird about the future of my stuff is because, I mean, when I was probably before I even thought of Ultra like that, I was like, okay, I want to be a musician, I want to tour, I want to perform, I want to do all that. But now that I've been thinking about all these different things, obviously, if I'm going to be studying business, I kind of want the possibility in the future ready for me to go into some sort of business management, that kind of situation, right? A business setting,
Yeah.
or in some sort of authorial, the kind of people that I listen to podcasts like with, where they write books and they do studies and stuff like that. Like that seems like that. I hope that's what I sound like when I talk. Somebody who does something like that. That's kind of like what I would want to be. So there's all these different versions of who I would want to be, and I don't think I said this, but like the pipe dreamingest end game for Ultra would be a traveling circus. So at my core,
I had a feeling. I had a feeling that that's what you were going to say for some reason.
Really? Okay, yeah. You know.
Well, you've referenced it at least once. Possibly
yeah,
twice.
I mean, like, so given all this businessy, smarty, brainy, whatever that I'm talking about, it is still my bread and butter is performing, and that's where my chops come in. It's like, yeah, I can write, I can make beats, but at the same time, you put me on stage, I will knock anybody dead. Like, I will knock the lights out of that place. And if you don't believe me, like, I did a theatrical production last fall, and I tore the roof off. Like, I tried my heart. Like, it was a comedic play, right? So I was just, if you hear me on Ultra, like, doing my voices and stuff like that, bro, you can only imagine what I look like in the studio recording that stuff, right? Like, I am damn near jumping around doing all these voices too. So, like, it's funny because I was working on Ultra for super, super, super long and not really performing like that. I was just in the booth recording all the things that you hear. But like in the booth, I was pretty much performing. I mean, you hear it's like I'm doing all these crazy things with my voices and all this. And so even though I wasn't performing like that, I kind of was. I was kind of training in like this closed setting. And so when it finally came time to get into a theatrical production that was a comedy, it was just like nothing. It was like water. And so yeah, performing is great. And like, I actually haven't done a real proper Ultra thing in terms of a stage show yet, honestly, because I'm sure you can gather that if I were to perform, I wouldn't want it to just be I do the songs, right? Like, someone as theatrically minded as me, it's not just a concert where the rapper goes up, they rap their song, hey, what's up, rap a song, leave. right? It's like the performances that I have done have been even the littlest bit where I try to make the transitions and stuff make sense. So it's not just like it's like a cohesive performance rather than song, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't rule it out. It's just that became so far in the back of my mind actually, the idea of touring like that. Like that didn't look like that became less and less of a thing that felt like that became less of a thing that felt like I wanted to pursue it. Like an idea of success for me to go on a tour. I wouldn't rule it out, but I'm like, if I get hit up with something like that, I would consider it. But I don't think I'm going to go out of my way to perform like that. That being said, I would. Like, I have the chops for it. And if that's the case, like, I'm open to anything as soon as everything, opens back up and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't been on stage since that play performance really rekindled that fire within me after a really long cooling period where I didn't get to perform for a long time. So being on stage and doing what I do is just, as any artist I think can say, it's transcendent. So it's a drug worth being addicted to, I would say. So I am still, I'm not going to shake that ever, but I've found other drugs. Maybe I shouldn't have used that. But I am a drug taker.
That's all good.
All right, goodbye,
man.
everybody. Thanks. Let's leave it at that.
Funny story. I actually do usually end about
What?
10. I said usually I do end about
okay,
10.
I was like,
but no.
Funny story.
No. No.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Like now we're getting to the darker part of the podcast. Oh no.
No. I am. I've never been a drug taker and a
Same.
light drinker.
True. I mean weed, but like.
No, that's fine. That's not really,
fine.
it's not really drugs.
Yeah. I mean coke. No.
Hey man, it's your life.
I don't want to end it on this note. Wait.
Well, you brought it on yourself.
Shoot. Well, see you next time.
But seriously though, it was great having you on, man, and just hearing your
Yeah.
just
This is
everything.
amazing. Like it's just we've been talking for years. Like I can't believe that like you were there before Squared came out. I'm just like that's
Yep.
and like even that like I'm sure that I hope we can talk again because there's stuff
yeah.
that like there's so much that we just barely scratched the surface on. Obviously, like I could talk about this stuff forever, and I again would love to hear your like take on a lot of stuff and more about you because I was kind of talking this whole time. Sorry,
It's
but
all
like
good. No worries.
yeah, like yeah, I'm sure this is only the beginning. Like yeah, this is really awesome, man. I can't even put it into words, honestly.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it even more. Swear, you don't even know.
Well, I'll have you on again. That's for sure. We'll have to
Yeah, please.
figure out
We
a
gotta talk.
time.
Mhm.
All right, dude. Well, for everybody that's still hanging out, we're just gonna end stream and call it good. But thanks again, Gabriel, for being on, Mr. Master.
you.
I'm gonna post that link one more time, just to be sure. But yeah, man. Thanks for a great night.
Bye, man.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.